following is a live presentation of CBC Sports. The CFL on CBC, and the road to the Grey Cup runs right through Toronto. If you're a Montreal Alouette, you're counting on Mike Pringle to run right through Toronto too, just like last week in record fashion. Alfred Payton in the right place at the right time as the Alouettes pick up momentum.
I feel like playing next week, baby.
In Toronto, the henchman back the Heisman. Doug Flutie is the CFL's most decorated player, leading the league's most dominant offense. Robert Drummond honors the run with a galloping gait, complimented by Pinball Clemens, bouncing into the playoffs at the top of his game. Then we go to Edmonton for the shootout in the West.
We're on our way to the Grey Cup, baby.
Shades of '89. Reggie Slack has the Riders in the West Final for the first time since their Cinderella season. But Mike Saunders must figure prominently for history to repeat itself. But hold on. Edmonton's Danny McManus has a penchant for the playoff spectacular. Connecting with Darren Flutie, Doug's little brother comes up big in November as Willie Pless plays for keeps for the right to go to the Grey Cup. The Skydome in Toronto, where the Argonauts put an 18-game home winning streak and a berth in the Grey Cup on the line against the Montreal Alouettes today in the East Division Final. And when that outcome is decided, we'll take you here to Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, where the Eskimos and Saskatchewan Roughriders will settle one of the most competitive seasons ever in the West. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the CFL on CBC and the final stop on the road to the Grey Cup. Well, today in the East Final, we'll feature the top two teams in the country this season, Montreal and Toronto. The Argos, favored to become the first back-to-back Grey Cup champs since the Eskimo Dynasty team, but to do that, they've got to get through Montreal first. And the Alouettes beat the Argos on the final weekend of the regular season, and they're picking up speed after winning the East semifinal against the BC Lions. They're expecting the biggest crowd of the year at the Skydome today for the East Final as we welcome Don Whitman and Dave Archer.
Thanks, Mark. Hi, everybody. Yes, the Argos are expecting their biggest crowd of the season for this Eastern Final. They've been installed as 17-point favorites, primarily based on the fact that Doug Flutie is such a star at the quarterbacking position. But what many people have overlooked this season, Dave, is the defensive role that this Toronto team has played.
This defense leads in 22 of 25 defensive categories, and they have people on their side of the ball that can make plays. Because of the athletes that Toronto deploys on defense, they create confusion for an offensive line. 7 men on the line of scrimmage, all coming after the quarterback. Unable to pick him up, Tracy Ham forced to throw the ball off his back foot underneath, and Toronto's defensive backs rally to make the play. Now, if you're going to blitz the quarterback, you have to get there. This time, Tracy Ham's offensive line against a 7-man up package sort out the blitzers and give their quarterback just enough time to find Mill Coleman with a perfect touchdown strike over Donald Smith. Blitzing the quarterback also includes another option, faking the blitz. This time, they bluff the blitz. Linebackers Reggie Gibbons and Mike O'Shea drop back into coverage, confusing the look for Tracy Ham. He now is forced to throw the ball underneath to Mill Coleman, short of the first down. And again, the Toronto athletes rally to the ball, led by Reggie Gibbons. Now, if you bluff coming after the quarterback, you better make sure you get back to your responsibilities. Again, a bluff from Ken Vincent, and also from linebacker Mike O'Shea, dropping back into zone. But they've forgotten about Chris Armstrong. Tracy Ham hasn't forgotten about Chris Armstrong, and he finds him down the middle in the weakness of the defense. You live by the sword, you die by the sword sometimes on defense, but Montreal seems to have found and solved some of the problems this Toronto defense presents.
The best defensive team in the country this year, and if the Alouettes are going to pull an upset in the Eastern Final, they'll have to avoid those second and long situations. Mark?
Don, it's the last chance to watch live Toronto's most successful professional sports franchise. In a couple of years, the Argos get set to meet the Alouettes in the East Division Final. Fans still filing into the Sky Dome in Toronto. About 10 minutes to kick off of the East Final between the Argonauts and the Montreal Alouettes for the chance to go to the Grey Cup. There they are, the henchmen and the hard hats together in the height before the game today. Well, the playoffs have produced some outstanding moments, but this is one of the best in Calgary history. Quarterback Danny Barrett throws 67 yards, a bomb to Pee Wee Smith to beat Edmonton in the 1991 West Final. And it happened, Danny, right over there. Some great moments here for you at Commonwealth Stadium. Of course, you're now the quarterback coach in Calgary and our game day analyst here today. Thanks for being a part of it. Let's talk a bit about the East Final first in Montreal and the confidence they're speaking about there after beating Toronto on the final weekend of the season.
You're exactly right. They have a lot of confidence going into this game today. They played well on offense. They beat the blitz, and their defense got after Doug in their offense. So it's going to be a good football game.
Now, here in the West, all kinds of talk about Saskatchewan. Their upset of you guys, 33-30 last week in the semifinal. But Saskatchewan has only put back-to-back wins together once this season. Can they do it again in a game so big?
I think they can. Again, it's the playoffs. They only need one win. And forget about what happened in the regular season. They had big wins against all the top teams this year, and I think they'll be ready to play today.
In fact, the only top team they have not beat is Montreal. So they're in good stead here against the Eskimos in the West Final. Danny, we look forward to your comments throughout the broadcast today. Chris Walby will be leading the blocking as usual. He's down on the field here at Commonwealth Stadium with his playoff thoughts and his new haircut.
Thanks a lot, Mark. Yes, welcome to Commonwealth. And I tell you what, one of the things here is there's a feeling of magic in the air. What type of magic? The magic of the Rough Riders. Reggie Slack in particular. Here's a guy right now, pinpoint passer, but also a new running threat. Here he runs for a crucial first down, keeps the drive alive. This is what you want out of your quarterback. And of course, the big play last week, the fake option, runs outside, the Stampeder killer right here. 15-yard touchdown with 14 seconds. This is what kills him. And on the other side, Danny McManus, the general, who does everything that Ron Lancaster wants him to do. He's got receivers all over the place. His favorite, Darren Flutie. But don't overlook the other ones. Eddie Brown. Don't look over at Robert Gordon. And don't overlook Donnie Blair. These guys will kill you and hurt you. It's going to be a great game, and there is indeed magic. And who will capture it? That's the question. Back to you, Mark.
All right, Chris, all pumped up for this doubleheader as they get warmed up and get set for the East Final in Toronto. And that's where we'll go indoors as Tracy Ham gets set to lead the Alouettes against the Argonauts right after this.
Welcome back to Sky Dome, the biggest crowd of the year in Toronto, awaiting what they anticipate will be a whale of a football game. And if there are two keys for their respective teams this afternoon, Dave, I'd suggest it would be Mike Pringle and Doug Flutie.
Yeah, very much so. These are the outstanding player nominees from their respective teams. And Mike Pringle's job today will be twofold. Obviously, he must carry the football, over 1,700 yards rushing this season. He also must be a decoy. They must fake him the football and throw to their receivers. Mike will play a double role today for his team. Doug Flutie drives his team. He decides who touches the football and how often. He drives this juggernaut offense, and he will be the key to determine whether Toronto goes on to the Grey Cup.
And after hours of study, your game notes, sir.
Well, it comes down pretty easy. They must use Pringle in several facets. We discussed those. Play action, pass, and run. The defense must be physical. They feel like they can out-hit Toronto. On Toronto's side of the ball, come out firing. Doug Flutie will use everybody. In the defense, Don Matthews felt like they did not execute 2 weeks ago against this Montreal team. They must execute today.
The Argos unbeaten in Sky Dome this year. Don Matthews hopes it will go to 10 in a row this afternoon. Dave Ritchie and his Alouettes have some other thoughts. With more thoughts from the sidelines, let's join Caroline Corey.
Thanks, John. Today's quarterbacks have 19 years of CFL experience and 4 Grey Cup rings between them. If they want a shot at another, they'll have to win today. But his experience has shown both Doug Flutie and Tracy Ham that's not always an easy thing to do.
Once you get to this point, you do not want to lose your last game. You have to. There's only one team that's going to go home happy during the off-season, and it doesn't matter if it's the first round of the playoffs, second round of the playoffs, or the Grey Cup. If you lose your last game, you're miserable for the next 6 months.
I've lost several finals. This is the toughest game to win because, I think some of the things that come along with this game, you try and not get out of what you've been doing that made you successful all year. I think that's the main thing, especially for me as a quarterback, is not to try and do more than I'm required to do in this offensive scheme.
And for the Alouettes, this is their Grey Cup game. They want to win here today to prove that their regular season victory over the Argonauts was no fluke, that they're no longer underdogs, that they're winners. Don?
Well, Toronto won 2 of 3 regular season meetings, but Dave Ritchie of the Alouettes is buoyed by the fact his team 43-38 victors in Montreal in the final regular season game on the 26th of October. He hopes that he'll see a duplication of what took place in 1994 in British Columbia, the last time he was a head coach in the CFL, when he took the Lions to a Grey Cup win. And of course, the Grey Cup is old hat for Don Matthews. 3 times he has been a winning coach. In the last 2 years, he has led 2 different teams to a Grey Cup victory. He'd like to make it 3 Grey Cup wins in a row this year. The Argonauts won the toss. They deferred, and Montreal will receive the ball. This will be a little different situation than the Eastern Final a year ago, when Mike Pinball Clement took the opening kickoff 91 yards for a touchdown, and that set the tone for the football game. Chris Wright, who has been a terror in recent weeks on special teams, comes up the middle. Are we going to see a duplication of last year, except in reverse? No, Wright is hauled down, but he takes it to the 42 of the Toronto Argonauts. What great field position for Montreal.
And this is huge, Don. They had to come out and set the tone, and a lot of times special teams does that for you. Montreal's special teams have set the tone. Chris Armstrong feels a squib kick. I think the reason was to try to keep it away from him. They allow it to roll through, and then Armstrong hits the crease, and only Lester Smith can make the play.
Chris Wright with a 48-yard return, taking the ball to the 42 of Toronto. Tracy Ham with great field position for this first Montreal offensive series. Fake inside to Pringle. Wide open is Jock Climby down the sideline, steps out of bounds at the Toronto 20-yard line. A pickup of 22 yards. Last week, Tracy Ham did not have to throw the ball as often as usual. He only put it in the air 13 times, and why throw it when you've got a running back, Mike Pringle, carrying for 264 yards.
Tracy Ham's one of those quarterbacks that would love to hand the ball off 32 times today to Mike Pringle as he did a week ago.
From the 20, it's 1st and 10, Montreal. Ham drops back, throws to Coleman, and Coleman is caught by Adrian Smith after a pickup of about 4 yards. Offensively, this is the way Montreal lines up. Basically, the same offense as last week in their victory over BC.
Well, 3 of these guys are all East selections. OKK, Beaton, and Neil Fort. Mark Dixon is a guy that upgrades him significantly coming back from knee injury. And, of course, Mike Pringle, the leading rusher in the league, will drive this offense.
Pringle had a great comment about Dixon when asked if Dixon was responsible for all the yards he gained. He thinks so. Intended for Armstrong in the corner of the end zone, incomplete. He was being defended by Charles Anthony.
A bit of a victory there by the Toronto defense after the bad field position they were presented with. After the Chris Wright return, Don Matthews' defense steps up and creates a problem for the offense, and Tracy Ham can't get it in the end zone. Interesting philosophy, though, from Tracy Ham. They came out throwing the football, which we felt like they needed to do. Fake the Pringle, throw the football. They were taking the attack to the Toronto defense.
For Terry Baker, a 23-yard field goal attempt. He struggled in this department in the last few games. Graves will hold. He pins it. The kick is up. It's wide. Baker continues to have his problems. Now, some of this can be related to the fact that he has had different holders over the last few games. The injury to Marvin Graves took him out of that holding assignment, but Baker has really struggled, and this could prove costly for Dave Ritchie's team.
Yeah, I'm not buying the holder thing.
Well, it's a quarterback.
Yeah, the hold is going to be clean here. This is Marvin Graves down. He spins the ball for him fine. Everything was fine there. And let's face it, they've worked on this for a couple of weeks now. It's not like this is the first time they've worked together. They've worked together for 5 days during practice, so that's a kick he has to make.
1st and 10, the Argos, their first possession from the 35-yard line. 1-0. Montreal leads. A little movement at the line of scrimmage, but no flag. Drummond, the ball carrier, and he'll pick up a couple of years. What a year he would have had he not been injured, Dave. He could have become the first to ever run for 1,000 and catch passes for 1,000 yards.
Yeah, Doug Flutie was the nominee for offensive outstanding player for this team, but I believe if Drummond had not gotten hurt, he would have been the nominee.
Very impressive numbers for Doug Flutie. The 47 touchdown passes, just one shy of the record he set in Calgary. 7 defensive backs in for Montreal. This is something they did the last time they met, but controlling Daryl Mitchell will be a task for Montreal's defensive unit this afternoon. That's a gain of 11 yards.
Well, this vaunted attack all starts up front. Mike Kiselak, the outstanding offensive lineman from last year, and is again nominated from the East again this year. It's a good offensive line, and of course, all the weapons Doug Flutie has with Robert Drummond back healthy in the lineup.
Drummond this year ran for 1,134 yards. Doug Flutie operating out of the shotgun, and he's got Dimitrition open. There's a penalty flag in the play. Dimitrition should have a first down. Another gain of 11 yards. Dave Ewell is the referee this afternoon. He'll explain the infraction.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver. Montreal number 23. Penalties declined. First down.
Well, Torrey Hunter gets flagged for the illegal contact, but the completion to Dimitrition was against a linebacker, and that's an option. That's a matchup that Doug Flutie will exploit if he gets it throughout the ballgame.
One valuable component of the defensive unit for Montreal missing this afternoon, Tracy Gradley, who took that punishing hit from Maurice Kelly last week in the semifinal. Mike Pinball Clemens underneath, he breaks free and then stumbles to the 31-yard line.
This guy is amazing. 122 receptions on the year, Don, but it seems like every time he touches the ball, he emphasizes why he's called pinball. I mean, how many guys get a shot at this guy? He's 5'6", 170 pounds. They can't bring the guy down.
What a year he has had, establishing a record for all-purpose yards, breaking the mark that he set in 1991. Flutie rolls to the outside, throws for Clemens, and Clemens will be close to another Toronto first down. They are really having difficulty in trying to stop Doug Flutie, who was having difficulties this week because of a sore throat and the flu bug. He did not attend the official function on Friday evening where the individual awards in the East were handed out. Dave Ritchie, if he had his druthers, would sooner have had Flutie show up for that and miss today.
I don't think there's any question about that.
Flutie has completed his first 4 pass attempts for 60 yards. Second and short. Drummond fumbles the football, and it's picked up by Torrey Hunter. Flutie is the only man who can stop him, and he makes a saving tackle. Drummond attempted to go high in looking for a first down. He lost the ball, and Hunter returns it 28 yards. So the first turnover of the football game goes Montreal's way.
Torrey Hunter turns in the first big defensive play of the game with a fumble recovery. Doug Flutie bobbles the ball just a bit, but Doug Peterson's going to rake the ball out of the leaping Robert Drummond. And there's Torrey Hunter to make the recovery. Doug Flutie saved the touchdown with the tackle.
First and 10, Montreal. They are at their own 46. First carry of the day for Mike Pringle, and Pringle, who established the record last week with 264 yards against BC, picks up about 5, maybe 6 yards. And this is the people, the unit that he will be running against today. The Argonauts defensively are going to make some adjustments up front. Andrew Stewart is slated to be the nose tackle, but they're going to move people around, and I think you may see John Raposo in there with Maxey going inside. And on second down, throwing deep over the middle, nobody there. And it's 2 and out for Montreal, leading by a score of 1-0 with 9:21 remaining in the opening quarter.
You see Tracy arguing right there. He felt like Chris Armstrong had been knocked down. And he felt like his receiver had been molested downfield, and he didn't get a chance to get him the football, and that's why he threw the football away. Rob Waldrop, the All-East selection, coming after Ham, but good protection up front from that big offensive line.
Low snap for Baker. Some pressure as he gets the kick away. There's also a penalty flag. And if it's contacting the kicker, which I think it will be, the Alouettes will retain possession because they only needed 5 yards for a first down. A 38-yard kick, 8 yards on the return.
Roughing the kicker, Toronto number 12. First down.
It's a roughing the kicker call against Adrian Smith.
Well, Adrian gets into no man's land. He feels like he's close enough to make the play, but he takes the wrong angle. You have to go to where the ball is going to be, not where the leg is. And subsequently, he runs into the kicker. You see the angle he takes is into the kicker as opposed to out where the ball's being kicked. And you get the rough.
Coach has always described that as the block point, where they want the guy to go after the football.
Exactly, Don. And he did not go to the block point.
So Montreal retains possession. First and 10. The ball is at the Toronto 44-yard line. Tracy Ham operating out of the shotgun. Hand off to Pringle, and Pringle is surrounded and down by Argo tacklers led by Kelly Wiltshire, a loss of 3 yards.
Well, this loss is on Mike Pringle because he does not stay with his offensive tackle on the counter play. Subsequently, he's tackled in the backfield for the big loss, but what a day he had last week, and Tracy Ham and this offense can only hope he does that again today.
The third best rushing performance all time in the CFL. Second and 13. Ham has Nigel Williams open, but he couldn't hang on to the football. The Alouettes have to take advantage of these opportunities, and they've missed a couple in this opening quarter. The field goal that went wide by Terry Baker, and now Nigel Williams wide open for a first down, unable to squeeze it.
In big games like this, opportunities are magnified, and this is 2 opportunities you said, Don. That's a perfect throw from Tracy Ham in the zone. Nigel Williams has to make the catch, as Terry Baker needed to make the kick previous.
For this third down punt, Baker stands at his own 49-yard line. Here comes the pressure again this time. Pinball waits for it at the 11-yard line. Pinball brings it back to about the 23. 7:53 remaining in the opening quarter. It's still a 1-0 Montreal lead. Even though they were beaten in the last regular season game, Robert Drummond is confident of his team's chances today.
You know, they're really pumped. You know, they have every reason in the world to be pumped. You know, they played us tough the game I didn't play, and then the last regular season game they beat us. And then they had a big, you know, semifinal game win against BC. You know, but as I said in the games today, you know, we're not BC. You know, we're the Toronto Argonauts, and they'll find that out soon enough.
Well, it was Drummond who mishandled the football on what appeared to be a good Argo drive. They'll try and start another drive, this time from deeper in their own end. Pass intended for Drummond, and he's got it. It looked for a moment as though it was going to be knocked away from him, but he was able to hang on for a gain of 18.
Well, this shows the versatility of Robert Drummond because he's isolated against Torrey Hunter. Torrey Hunter is a halfback that starts on this ball club, and he cannot stop the completion to Drummond. Drummond drag it underneath. There shows the speed, and what a super catch. Look at the hands reaching down. One-handed stab makes the catch, first down.
First and 10 Toronto. The Argos at their own 41. 3 receivers to both sides of the field. And the pass to Robert Drummond for close to another first down. Montreal's defensive unit in the early stages of this football game having difficulty trying to stop the Toronto passing attack.
Well, Alfred Payton led the league in sacks with 14, and he'll need to get there today. Stephen Reed replaces Tracy Gravely, who's an all-CFL performer. He'll have to step up. And this secondary, who likes to feature man coverage, Irv Smith, a 2-time all-CFL performer, those guys are really going to have to play a strong game today and limit Doug Flutie's opportunities.
And I think we'll see Montreal on numerous occasions this afternoon go to 6 defensive backs, maybe even 7 at times. Robert Drummond shopping for a first down, and he's got it.
Well, we had a chance to do that game 2 weeks ago, Don, when these two teams faced, and Montreal won the game down the at the Big O in Montreal, and Robert Drummond looks at least 2-3 steps faster today than he did coming off of that knee injury.
Well, Dave Ritchie will be disappointed that his team hasn't been able to capitalize on what has taken place in this opening quarter, but he is still pleased, I'm sure, as we have a penalty flag in the play, that this game hasn't transpired the way last year's final did, where his club fell behind.
Illegal procedure. Toronto 65.
26-0 in the first half after the opening kickoff was returned by Clemens.
And you could see in his eyes yesterday at the press conference, he knew it wasn't going to happen. Willie Williams is right up here at the top, right here. He's going to move. You see the little flinch. Alfred Payton, Swift Birch all pointing at him.
Coach Don Matthews said Willie Williams is the best left tackle in the league as far as he's concerned. He wouldn't trade him for anybody. He said he has made our offensive line just that much better. Wide open is Dimitrition, and he takes it inside the 25-yard line. Flutie has so many weapons, and he utilizes all of them.
Well, Dwayne Dimitrition has already caught one ball today, and Dimitrition's out here he's at the top. They're playing a zone, and they're trying to sort out the underneath route. There goes Mazzotti curling, but in behind him is Dwayne Dimitrition. They're having a problem with the combination parts of the pattern right now. Dimitrition, benefactor of those situations.
He had his best game of the year against Montreal in the final regular season game. 3 catches for 91 yards. First and 10 as Flutie from the shotgun swings it out to Robert Drummond. Drummond on the sidelines, bounced out of bounds, but not before he picks up another Toronto first down at the 8-yard line.
Well, this is the worst series of downs the Montreal defense has had so far in the ball game. They're really having a problem sorting out the multiple formations. Robert Drummond comes out of the backfield and just catches a simple swing pass from his quarterback. But Charles Gordon, who's responsible for that area, did not get out wide. They're really having a problem sorting things out right now.
Well, Gene Gaines, the defensive coordinator for the Owls, is concerned because Flutie is giving them so many different looks. Now Flutie is in trouble. He's flushed out. Flutie throws to Dimitrition in the corner of the end zone, but Harold Nash had a good position on him, and it will be second and goal for Toronto from the 9.
Well, credit the secondary here. Whenever Flutie breaks contain, that's when it becomes so dangerous. He's broken contain here, reversed his field, but Harold Nash kept good tight coverage on Dimitrition. Didn't give Flutie a throwing lane, so good coverage downfield, even though the pass rush broke down.
Alfred Payton was the man who initially broke through to put some pressure on Doug Flutie. Flutie has completed 8 of 9 passes for 129 yards. It's second and goal. 4 receivers left this time. Flutie flips it out to Mitchell, and Mitchell looks for the end zone. He stopped at the 1. Darryl Mitchell, the Eastern candidate for Rookie of the Year honors. What a season he has had. And Flutie really likes the skills of this rookie receiver as he takes the ball down to the 1.
Now, 2 All-East selections working against each other there. Harold Nash and obviously probably the Rookie of the Year. No disrespect to the Western nominee, B.J. Gauss. This is the guy, and he had a super season. Nash is going to have to match up a little better because he's their featured receiver.
Third and goal for the Argos. It's Drummond. And it is a touchdown. The signal was a little slow in coming, but they indicate a major score for Robert Drummond. Montreal made initial contact. The Alouettes for a moment thought they had stopped Robert Drummond.
And they had initially, Don. They made a nice hit in the backfield, and then Drummond with his size, 6'3", 220, was able to slide off and get in. It was interesting because the referee to that side of the field that had the goal line does not make the signal. It's the umpire that's right in the line of scrimmage. Good initial hit right there, but it looked like Steve Charbonneau. But Drummond with his size slides in and makes the touchdown.
So the Argos are successful on their second drive, and now the point after by Vanderjagt, and it's a 7-1 Toronto lead with 3:16 remaining in the opening quarter. Drummond 3 catches for 43 yards, 4 carries for 12. 12 regular season touchdowns and the go-ahead touchdown in this Eastern Final for Robert Drummond, capping an 87-yard drive. Chris Wright awaits the kickoff. And the Alouettes again hoping that he can provide them with instant field position. This is Coleman on the return. And he brings it up to the 35, brought down there by Antonius Bonner, a 16-yard runback.
Well, you talk about this game being a game of inches. It certainly plays out here. Steve Charbonneau makes a nice hit in the hole right here, but none of his teammates are there to help him. Drummond, with his size, just gets the ball over the goal line. But maybe the big play of the series, and there were several, was Harold Nash falling and then Mitchell diving to get the ball to the 1.
Darryl Mitchell in his rookie season, 17 touchdowns for the Argos. He thought he was going to be taking that pass into the end zone, but was stopped at the 1. Here's Pringle, the ball carrier, and he'll pick up just 1 yard. 2:50 remaining in the opening quarter on the sidelines. Let's bring in Caroline Corey.
All right, Don, I just spoke with Albert Payton, who says that the man-to-man coverage they're running on defense is not working. They need to add some zone. With all the crisscrossing that Doug Flutie is doing, it's allowing him to hold on to the ball a little longer, and they need time so that they can come around the corners and rush them.
Well, that's something that Flutie will do. He will buy that time with his scrambling ability. Second and 9. Tracy Ham into the hands of Nigel Williams. Williams is going to be stopped short of a first down by Kelly Wiltshire.
Well, we talk about staying out of second and long situations against this defense because they have so many athletes on defense that can rally to the football if you throw it underneath. Because of the coverage, Tracy Ham is forced to throw the ball underneath to Nigel Williams. Now it's up to Nigel. He's putting this guy up to bat. You need to go get the first down for me. You're 4 yards short. But here's Kelly Wiltshire, and then Charles Anthony comes in and dresses him up short of the first down.
Pinball awaits the third down punt from Baker. He isn't going to get a chance to return it as it goes out of bounds at the 37-yard line. 1:55 remaining in the opening quarter.
You'll never get left out in the cold with MotoMaster, Canada's #1 selling brand of batteries. Available only at Canadian Tire, Canada's auto parts store, made better.
Well, if Doug Flutie was having some health problems this week at practice, it certainly has not been evident in this Eastern Final.
No, he's come out firing just like we thought he would. This is a huge series of downs right here, I believe, for the Montreal defense. Cannot afford to go down 14-1. Must stop Flutie here if they hope to stay in the ball game.
Look at those numbers. Flutie has only missed 1 pass. And that was when he was under pressure. But the only time he's been under pressure. Dimitrition is the man he was looking for over the middle. Giddings, from his linebacking position, had dropped back into pass coverage.
Well, Doug misfired this time. He's pointing at himself. He realizes he had Dimitrition in the hole. Dimitrition reads the zone and just hooks up. Flutie throws the ball too far to the inside, which allows Giddings to get back involved and make the collision with Dimitrition. So Doug pointing at himself, letting everybody know that, hey, that was mine.
It's second and 10. Giddings goes out. 7 defensive backs in now for Montreal. Alfred Payton, who was such a factor against BC, stymied so far in his attempts to get to Doug Flutie. Flutie flushed out of the pocket, and it's 2 and out for Toronto. You suggested, Dave, that Montreal would have to have a big series here defensively, and they came up with those 2 key plays to take the Argo offense off the field.
Well, they stepped up, Don. They were helped out by the Flutie misfire on first down, but now second and long, Alfred Payton getting after the quarterback. Larry McSeed on the other side actually put the pressure on Flutie, flushed him, he had to throw the ball away.
1:03 remaining in the opening quarter. 7-1, Toronto leads. Mike Vanderjagt punting to Chris Wright.
Oh, Chris Wright.
He takes the ball at the 34. Now he finds a bit of a seam with his speed. He takes it up the sidelines and out of bounds at the 49. Again, good field position for Montreal. In the final regular season game between these two teams, Chris Wright was such a factor with 151 special team yards against the Argos. He took the opening kickoff today to give Montreal instant field position, and on the most recent kick, he returned it 16 yards. Pringle, trying to break free, is stopped after a gain of 5 yards by Reggie Gibbons.
Well, we talked about how important the series of downs was for the Montreal defense. I think this is equally as important for their offense. They've had the great field position the whole ball game, only 1 point to speak for it. This is an opportunity for them to push one across. They need to take advantage here.
So many times the Argos defensively have put opposing teams in second and long situations during the course of the season. Ham with some time, and he's got Climby open for a first down at the 45-yard line. Climby's the possession receiver for the Montreal Alouettes.
Well, Don, you talked about being successful on first down and how Toronto's defense has been tough on a lot of teams. Montreal has been one of the best this season against them.
And that is also the final play of the opening quarter here at Sky Dome. Montreal in possession, but trailing by 6. When Montreal gets positive yardage on first down, it makes it easier for Ham to utilize Jock Climby on second.
Well, Jock Climby, as you suggested, is their possession receiver. He's the guy that reads coverage so well. I mean, the guy's a lawyer, or going to be a lawyer. He has a lot of smarts. The guy understands what's going on. He gets the first down for Ham on the last play.
Two big drives for the Argos in the opening quarter for their 137 yards, the bulk of it 87 yards on their touchdown march. But now it's Montreal to start the second quarter in possession at the Toronto 45-yard line. Hand off to Pringle, and Pringle this time will be limited to about a 3-yard gain by John Raposo. And they have made that shift we talked about at the start of the game. Andrew Stewart is out, and Demetrius Maxey has moved inside.
Well, Demetrius Maxey had a great season this year for this team. Did almost everything. 7 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 6 tackles for loss. They felt like his speed moved to the inside would enable them to do some things against the run that they don't normally are able to do with Andrew Stewart in the game.
2nd and 7 for Montreal. Hand to Armstrong on the sidelines, and he's down to the 18-yard line. And there's a late penalty flag. This could be a roughing call against Williams after the catch and the first down were achieved, a pickup of 24 yards.
And it's a stupid penalty, Don. They get the big completion to Armstrong. He's already on the ground, and Nigel Williams hits a defender in the back.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Montreal number 88 was after the play, first down.
It's difficult enough to beat Toronto when you play a clean ball game, but when you give yards back against the defense that's so tough to move the ball against, these are mistakes you cannot afford. Tracy Ham has all the time in the world. Good offensive line protection, is able to sort things out, and hits Armstrong going down the sidelines. Now Armstrong's on the ground, and Nigel Williams comes in out of nowhere. See, Armstrong's getting up. Unbelievable.
The penalty takes the ball back to the 34. It's 1st and 10, Montreal. Fake inside to Pringle as Ham rolls to his left, and it looks as though he's going to be tracked down by Reggie Gibbons. Pretty good pursuit by the linebacker, stopping him from getting a first down just when those sidelines appeared to be open.
Well, we talked with Mike Pringle yesterday, and he said Tracy Ham was going to have to do these kind of things, but boy, how about the speed of Reggie Gibbons? Good play fake. You have to respect Mike Pringle, the leading rusher in the league. And now here's where Ham has done so much of his damage in his CFL career, but here comes Reggie Gibbons. This shows you some of the speed. That's one of their linebackers.
Pretty good pursuit by a 6-foot, 220-pound linebacker, tracking down Tracy Ham. It's 2nd and 3, Montreal. Hand off to Pringle. Pringle gets a couple of blocks and should have the first down. He fought to about the 22-yard line. Lester Smith and Michael O'Shea were in on the stop.
But again, Don, the good first down play, Ham running for 6 or 7, now allows them to run the football on second down and short. And Pringle's tough to bring down one-on-one. O'Shea needs a little help from Lester Smith.
Pringle has carried 6 times for 15 yards. It's first and 10, Montreal. They trail 7-1, 12:20 remaining in the first half. They've got the ball at the 22 of Toronto. On first and 10, into the end zone, Williams, and that atones for the costly penalty he took on the Armstrong catch. And his drop in the first quarter as he takes it into the end zone, and this game is tied at 7.
Well, perfect timing from Tracy Ham. It's just a little seam post. It's going to get in between the corner and the free safety, and the ball is right on him as he makes his break. Lester Smith has no chance to get in and make the play. The ball's right on the money. Lester Smith and Donald Smith, no shot.
Terry Baker with the point after that would put Montreal into a 1-point lead with 12 minutes remaining in the half. And Smith was coming from the outside trying to block the convert and came very close to getting it. But Montreal is a 1-point lead. We'll be back with their kickoff. Well, when Nigel Williams, the Hamilton Hurricane graduate, went over to the bench, I think he felt a little more comfortable than standing beside Dave Ritchie.
Well, he's dropped the ball, and he had the big penalty in that drive, but came back with a touchdown grab, and that'll pull you out of anybody's doghouse. Make the big catch.
The pinball awaits the kickoff by Terry Baker. And he is going to have to chase it into the end zone. And he is going to concede a single point. That ball took a definite Montreal bounce as it landed at about the 15 and rolled into the end zone. An 85-yard single for Terry Baker, and now a 2-point Montreal lead.
Well, we felt like this was a big series of downs. And you saw Ham immediately when he got his back step, he planted and fired. Good read, got the ball on his receiver right away. Williams ran a perfect route. Watch Ham get rid of the ball quick. Boom, out of there right now. No time wasted. That's Tracy Ham recognizing coverage, putting it on his man.
First and 10, Toronto. The Argos at their own 35-yard line. 3 receivers to the right. Flutie out of the shotgun. He's got Drummond as a safety valve, and Alfred Payton got a hand up to knock it down.
Well, Alfred Payton specializes in sacks, Don, but he also specializes in knocking the ball down at the line of scrimmage. He gets so much attention. A lot of times he's double-teamed. They don't want him to rush the passer, so he elevates as the passer throws it. That's his 9th knockdown of the season, which is incredible for a defensive lineman.
And does anybody have more fun playing the game than Alfred Payton?
Well, you can tell anytime. We saw in the opening. I can't wait to play next week, baby. He loves to play the game.
Well, since the touchdown drive, where Flutie was good on 8 of 9 pass attempts, he's completed just 1 of his last 5. Flutie now looking over the middle, and that's well over the head of the intended target, Darryl Mitchell. So again, it's 2 and out for Toronto. 11:05 remaining in the first half. The Argos trailing by 2.
Montreal puts their people up to bat on defense, and Doug realizes that he's going to see man coverage, but Montreal is rising to the task right now and playing good man coverage, and Doug's not finding anybody.
For a quarterback, how difficult is it when the defense switches to 6 and sometimes 7 defensive backs?
Well, now guys that you felt like were going to be an easy shot for you because they'd be isolated against the backer or isolated against the defensive back, so that throw might be taken away from you, so it makes it difficult.
Vanderjagt with his 3rd down kick. Chris Wright is going to take it at the 35. Ball comes loose, and the Argos have got it. It looked as though Eric Johnson came up with the football, and the expression on the face of Montreal coach Dave Ritchie says it all.
Well, these are the kind of mistakes that change the tide in a huge football game, as this one is. Chris Wright knew he would be a major factor in this game, returning, and he has been already. But this time he lays the ball on the ground, and he has a tendency to do this from time to time. And Toronto's coverage team knows that. They know if they put a hat on him.
Montreal number 15. Penalties declined. First down.
They know if they put a hat on him, he's going to put it on the ground. He finds a little crease. They're blocking extremely well, but he gets hit right at the end. Brendan Rodgers, one of those grinders we featured last week, makes a play for his team.
Special team players who can play such a vital role in the outcome of a football game. Brendan Rodgers forcing the turnover. First and 10, Toronto. Operating from the 47. Here's the pressure on Flutie. He gets away from McSeed, and Flutie will run for a first down. McSeed thought he had a shot at Doug Flutie, and Flutie gave him a leg, pulled it away, and was gone.
Well, Doug felt like that Robert Drummond was going to help him out here a little bit. I think he expected Drummond to go back to the right and give him a pass option. But what a super move he makes on Larry McSeed.
Are you going to try and copy that move if, in fact, you come back next year to play?
Nobody can copy that move.
Well, Brendan Rodgers is the man on special teams who forced the turnover, giving Toronto a chance. And here's Flutie throwing. Incomplete. It was deflected by Smith. Herb Smith got a hand on it, intended for Mitchell. It will be second and 10. We talked to Chris Wright on the sidelines prior to the game. He was pumped and ready for action this afternoon.
He really was. He felt like he was going to be a big factor in the game. They had some good return packages in for him, and they have returned the ball well. He just needs to take care of the football. He realizes that he's a big factor, but he also can be a detriment laying it on the ground.
9:23 remaining in the half. 9-7 Montreal lead. Second and 10. Flutie from the shotgun. The ball is at the 37-yard line. Flutie with time, looking over the middle, and the pinball makes one of those circus catches close to first down yardage.
Well, Doug needed a first down. Again, it was second and long, second and 10. Who's he going to look for? Of course, the guy that got 122 for him this year. And he's working against Charlie Gordon. Charlie Gordon was all CFL last year at halfback. He's isolated on pinball. He said he was going to play pinball all day today. Pinball wins this battle. Nice full extension catch for his quarterback. And I think he's close enough for the first down. If they don't have it, they're going to go.
And pinball is one of those athletes who seems to thrive on additional work.
He's a guy that you cannot keep out of the huddle, Don. You would like to get some of your young players in at some point during practice, let them get some reps. If somebody's not in the huddle, I don't care if it's an offensive lineman or a receiver, pinball's going to take his spot. The guy loves to be on the field.
It is a Toronto first down at the 26 of Montreal. 8:50 remaining in the first half. The Argos came into this game based on their 15-3 record during regular season play as 17-point favorites. Flutie now looking to the sidelines, incomplete. Masadi is the man he was throwing to, and Doug Kraft got a hand on it.
Yeah, Doug was just a little late letting this one go, Don, and Douglas Kraft, who knows how to play that position, leads the team with 5 interceptions, broke on the little out route that Masadi'd run. Because Doug was a little late, Kraft was able to get back and knock the ball down.
Kraft had a big fumble recovery for a touchdown last week against the BC Lions. Those two first-half turnovers that resulted in touchdowns, one by Kraft, one by Payton, really put the Lions in a big hole from which they never recovered, and they lost 45-35. Here's Flutie out of the shotgun. Flutie looking over the middle for Dimitrition, incomplete, penalty flag. Torrey Hunter is going to be called for interference down at the 1.
Well, Don, there's no way he catches this football even if Torrey Hunter...
Forward pass interference. Montreal 23. First down.
Even if Torrey Hunter hadn't clipped the leg, there's no way Dimitrition makes this catch. But Doug has Dimitrition isolated on Torrey Hunter down the seam. And that vantage point may not do it justice. Let's see how high the ball is. See, the ball was outside and high. I don't think Dimitrition makes the catch anyway. So Torrey Hunter did him a favor.
One of the problems Montreal has had this year is with penalties. Dave Ritchie addressed that problem yesterday. He said we have to continue being aggressive, but I hope we don't take stupid penalties in this Eastern final.
Well, Dimitrition has brought his game today because no matter who he's going against, he's the guy that they would like to get the football to.
First and goal. Hand off to Drummond, his second touchdown, and an Argo lead.
In big football games, Don, turnovers normally are the deciding factor. And the turnover by Chris Wright on the punt return allowed Flutie the short field, and he gets in with the Robert Drummond run. But that's what you have to do when you get your opportunities. You have to cash them in. Drummond gets in behind his offensive line on the counter play, and they power it in.
When these teams met on July 31st, and Toronto won by a score of 46-8, Drummond had 4 first-half touchdowns. He's got 2 first-half touchdowns this afternoon. Vanderjagt with the point after, and the Argos now have a 5-point lead with 7:45 remaining in the half. The Toronto kickoff when we come back. Well, these two men have very much been a part of the statistical story of the first half of this football game. Robert Drummond has 2 touchdowns, and he also fumbled the football once. And Doug Flutie has put together 3 pretty good drives this afternoon for the Argos, one culminating in a touchdown of 87 yards, and then taking the Argos into the end zone after the fumble by Chris Wright. Coleman will field it at the 15-yard line. Coleman is met head-on by Brendan Rodgers at the 30. A 15-yard return for Coleman.
Well, because of the pass interference call, the counter play, 2 offensive. There's Jeremy O'Day coming inside, makes the kick-out block. Chad Polk raises the hands in the air, and the offensive line gets a little taste of what it's all about being in the end zone. Drummond, the benefactor of good blocking up front.
Well, there was a penalty on the kickoff, and with the offside call against Toronto, they'll kick again.
What both these teams are trying to do on their kickoff so far, Don, is squib the football, trying to take away the big play capabilities of Chris Wright, who's back now for Montreal, and Pinball Clemens on the other side for Toronto. What it does is it delays the setup of the return, allowing the coverage people to get down a little quicker.
7:39 the time remaining in the first half. 14-9, the Argos lead. Again, it will be Coleman starting from the 20-yard line. Oh, what a hit! The ball comes loose. Toronto's got it. And again, it was Brendan Rodgers who made the hit.
Well, Mill Coleman's still down after a monster hit from Brendan Rodgers. This is about the 3rd time. He created the fumble that led to the touchdown the last series. Look at the violence on that hit. Wow.
Well, you saw it. Let's listen to it.
Oh. Wow. Unbelievable.
And Coleman is still down receiving treatment. Brendan Rodgers thought his career was over when he required an operation as the result of a neck injury, but this original 1991 draft choice by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is back playing and punishing people. Well, Coleman is still requiring treatment after the Brendan Rodgers hit. That popped the ball loose, and the Argos have another opportunity now from the Montreal 36-yard line. Those guys on special teams love these moments, don't they?
Well, here's the guy on the other side of the ball, Ray Bernard. Monster hit on Norm Casola on the same return. We talked about how hard-hitting a game this was going to be. The ball came loose, and Antonius Bonner makes the recovery after the Brendan Rodgers crushing tackle. But they talked about how physical this game was going to be, and it has been already. This Milt Coleman injury is a twofold injury. Good return guy, but he is a guy that really has stepped up for him outside as an outside receiver. They can only hope that he can get back in the ball game for him.
He's favoring his right shoulder, and this would appear to be the type of injury that might keep him out for the rest of the afternoon. Flutie now trying to take advantage as he operates from the shotgun. He swings it out to the pinball, and the pinball over on the far side of the field is stopped by Nash and then Giddings. It looks as though he's about a yard shy, maybe 2 of a first down.
Well, Montreal's defense has been put in some bad situations. And they've been put in another one. We had the Chris Wright fumble that led to a touchdown. Now Milt Coleman fumbles the football after the Brendan Rodgers hit. Antonius Bonner recovers, and now Doug Flutie again working on the short field. He's dangerous enough when he has to go 85 yards. If you give him 35 yards to cover, tough task.
Both coaches talked about the importance of special teams, and 2 big plays that resulted in fumbles have given Toronto a great chance to increase their advantage, but it looks as though they may have to settle for a field goal as Drummond is stopped right at the line of scrimmage.
I'm trying to sort out the problems with Mill. They're just trying to find out what's the problem. Is it your shoulder? Is it... He's probably still a little dazed from the hit anyway. You can see him blinking his eyes there. But good stop here by Montreal's defense. They had to come up with a stop, and they did. Now, Vanderjagt must pound one in from about 37 yards to actually get some points here.
6:16 remaining in the half, and Vanderjagt will be attempting a 37-yard field goal. Certainly well within his range. On the season, he completed 33 of 43 field goal attempts. And this one is good. And it's now an 8-point advantage for Toronto. They lead it 17-9. Unlike some other years, weather conditions in Edmonton at Commonwealth Stadium appear ideal for the second half of our Sunday doubleheader, as the Eskimos will entertain the Saskatchewan Roughriders immediately after this game in the Western Final. A good crowd here at Skydome, the Argos' biggest of the season, enjoying what they've witnessed so far in the first half, a hard-hitting football game, and a 17-9 lead. Wright having problems in handling that squib kick. And when he finally picks it up, there's nowhere to go. He's down at the 20-yard line.
Well, those are the problems that the squib kick presents. It allows your coverage team to get down while the ball's rolling on the ground. But now your return man, Chris Wright, has to field it. He has to be a shortstop here. And this is E6 right here. He's not able to come up with it, and he barely gets on it before coverage gets down there.
And Wright will remain in the ball game as a replacement for Coleman at a receiving position for Montreal. This is Montreal's first play from scrimmage in 6.5 minutes. 2 turnovers since they last scored a touchdown. Pringle, the ball carrier, and very quickly the Argos come across to close the hole. Michael O'Shea is the man who made the tackle. Down on the sidelines, let's bring in Caroline Corey.
Yes, I've just spoken with the Alouettes doctor about the condition of Milt Coleman, the wide receiver for the Alouettes. He's out of the game for now. Evidently, he's got something wrong with his shoulder. They need further examination, though they're not saying right now just what exactly the injury is to his shoulder. And obviously, he's pretty shaken up, too, after that big hit by Brendan Rodgers.
Well, this has certainly been a different first half for Mike Pringle compared to last week against BC when he had over 100 rushing yards in the first half. 7 carries for 15 so far today. Armstrong can't hang on over the middle at the 34-yard line.
Now this is just a matter of, he thinks he's going to get hit as the ball's coming in. He knows he's in the danger zone. And I don't want to say Gator armed this, but I mean, this is a throw. He realizes he's in harm's way right now, and he wants to get his head swiveled to where the defender is. And it made him not catch the football. There's no question about it. Ham stands in, takes the lick, and puts the ball right on his receiver. Armstrong has to make that play.
Good kick by Baker. Clemens is chased back to his own 40-yard line. Clemens makes people miss as a punt returner, and then he's caught from behind as he got to the 49. A 50-yard punt, 9 yards on the return, 4:30 remains in the half.
Now get a 28-point winter checkup, plus oil, lube, and filter, tire rotation, and a free jug of washer fluid, all for just $29.95, only at Canadian Tire.
Well, Dave Ritchie, I'm sure, is contemplating the 2 turnovers on kick returns by his team that led to 10 Toronto points. Don Matthews anticipated this would be a hard-hitting Eastern final, and it's been exactly that. Flutie for pinball, and he's caught immediately by Giddings. Gain of just a couple of yards. You sometimes wonder, the 2-week layoff that the Argos went through prior to this Eastern final, whether they might just be a little rusty in getting their offense in gear.
I think there's some validity to that. I don't think there's any question that you take a week off, you do lose some of the edge that you had playing. And Don Matthews' team has rubbed that off, and they're ready to play now.
Offensive coordinator John Jenkins from upstairs. Here's Flutie on the quarterback draw, and a penalty flag as Flutie dives through to the Montreal 44-yard line, but it may go for naught as the result of a holding infraction.
Holding, Toronto number 57.
This is the 4th game these two teams have played against one another, and that's only the 2nd holding call that this offensive line has been called for. 57 is Dan Payne. He's trying to control the rush of Doug Peterson, reaches out and grabs the jersey, no question about it. Good call from the official.
That takes the ball back to the 43. It will be 2nd and 16 for Toronto. At 6'7", 300 pounds, you wouldn't think a guy'd have to hold anybody, would you? Movement at the line of scrimmage as the Alouette defensive line jumps. Now on the sidelines, Pinball takes the pass. Tried a little head fake to get the defensive back to move to the inside as he went to the outside. But that fake wasn't bought, but there is a penalty flag back at the line of scrimmage.
Now almost the entire defensive front jumped on the hard count from Doug Flutie. And they're going to get another down.
Offside, Montreal 57.
Alfred Payton is one of about 3 people who moved prior to the ball being snapped, but his number was called by referee Dave Ewell.
Yeah, he gets everybody to jump here. Swift Birch jumps also. Good hard count from Doug Flutie.
17-9, the Argos lead with 3:01 left in the half.
Welcome back to Toronto. Just to update the status of wide receiver Milt Coleman for the Montreal Alouettes. He is out of the game with a separated shoulder. Back to the booth.
And he appears to be in a great deal of pain as he sits on the Montreal bench. 3:01 remaining till the half. After the offside call, it will be 2nd and 11 for Toronto. They are at their own 48-yard line. They lead it by a score of 17-9.
Now that Milt Coleman injury is a big loss for Montreal. We talked about his return abilities, but he is a guy that stepped up outside receiver-wise. Now Chris Wright, who struggled out there, will have to fill that void.
Flutie operates from the shotgun. 5 times he's been named the CFL's most valuable player. He's up for a 6th MVP title. Those awards to be presented on Thursday in Edmonton. Here's Flutie trying to run for a first down. Should have it at the 50. You always talk about Flutie's passing records, but he can hurt you with the run as well.
Well, the guy is so versatile, and his ability to make people miss is unbelievable. He could have been a great running back. You see people diving, and these guys can run. He just makes people miss, and then he gets in and takes the lick at the end, dives short for his team to get the first down.
Flutie Flutie, number 3 all-time in the CFL in pass attempts, in completions, in yardage, 270 career touchdown passes. He's number 3 in that category. And what I find interesting, Dave, he's number 13 in career interceptions.
Which is a great stat because he takes care of the football.
First and 10 from the 50-yard line. And off inside to Robert Drummond. He'll only get a couple of yards. Stefan Reed was one of those in on the stop.
You know, getting back to that stat, Don, that you were talking about, 13th in interception. You think about how many attempts he's had. You talk about the record number of attempts he's had and only thrown that many interceptions is remarkable compared to the 270 career touchdown passes. He really has been a remarkable player in the league.
And hoping to lead the Toronto Argonauts to a second consecutive Grey Cup victory. Second and 8. Flutie from the shotgun. It appeared to be a time count violation as the Alouettes were sending people after the Toronto quarterback.
Well, what happens here is I think Doug delays his count because I think he sees Tom Europe coming from free safety. The free safety blitz was on, and he's probably fortunate that they had a time count violation because Europe was unblocked, and Flutie would have had to make some magic happen to make Europe miss.
Europe has been nicknamed Captain Cardiac this year for some of the sensational late plays he has made. A 99-yard fumble return against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, goal line interception against both Winnipeg and Saskatchewan during regular season play late in the ball game. Chris Wright is back, awaiting the punt by Mike Vanderjagt. 36.7-yard average this season, and they almost got to it. Now it's Chris Wright going a long way back. He gets a block from Torrey Hunter, and now Chris Wright looks for more blocking out, but Norm Casola is there to bring him down at the 17-yard line. Washington came close to blocking that third down punt, a 38-yarder by Vanderjagt. Wright had 8 yards on the return.
Well, it turns out it's a perfect kick by Vanderjagt because they had the return set up to the wide side of the field, or the short side of the field, excuse me, but Vanderjagt punts it under pressure from Washington to the wide side, and now Wright had to get all the way back to the far side. The coverage team rallied, made the play.
1:36 remaining in the half, 17-9, the Argonauts lead. And off to Pringle, and again, he has to fight for every bit of real estate he picks up. That's been the story most of the afternoon. Well, Pringle is noted as a runner. This fella usually throws the football, but it was his running that spelled the difference as Saskatchewan beat Calgary last week in the Western semifinal. I'm referring, of course, to Saskatchewan quarterback Reggie Slack.
And Reggie Slack played his best game of the year last weekend.
That will be the second half of our CFL Sunday doubleheader as we declare the Grey Cup participants. We'll be going there as soon as this game here at Skydome concludes. Second and 5, Montreal. Tracy Ham in some trouble. Gibbons after him from behind and has got him. There almost at times, Dave, seems to be a reluctance this year on the part of Tracy Ham to run as much as he did in other years. In the past, in a situation like this, it would almost be automatic. He'd take off.
Well, let's face it, Tracy Ham isn't 25 years old anymore. He's 35 years old, and he would like to distribute the ball as best he can. I don't think he's getting any help when he does scramble from his receivers. They don't seem to be coming back to him, giving him some outlets. He only had one guy working for him on that play. That was Nigel Williams. Everybody else just kind of forgot about it.
1:05 remaining in the half, and the Argos are going to get the ball back in great field position as Baker is punting from the end zone. Good kick by Baker. Clemens goes back to his own 50. But look at this. He bobs and weaves to the 36, a run back of 23.
Well, Reggie Gibbons got the sack, but you got to credit that entire group to just keep coming after the quarterback. This defense has just been vaunted all year long. And another problem that Montreal now facing is they're giving Flutie too many short field opportunities. You see, the D-line just cuts off Ham's ability to scramble to the short side, and Gibbons is there for the tackle.
51 seconds remaining. Flutie with time. Now he looks. He's got Masadi wide open. First catch of the day for Paul Masadi. What a big one it is. 27 yards and putting Toronto in scoring position again.
What's happening in the game now, Don, is Doug Flutie is now taking the game on his shoulders. He's now scrambling and creating opportunities for his receivers. He's buying himself more time. Because he's got more time, now people like Masadi can get open after the coverage is broken down.
First and goal from the 9-yard line. Flutie into the end zone. He was looking for Clemens, and I think he may have been making sure it was long enough that nobody was going to intercept.
Yeah, veteran quarterback makes the proper decision. In the scoring zone, take care of the football. He realizes it's a bad situation, threw the football away. Good pressure from Doug Peterson. Right up the gut. Peterson wins against Pierre Verschoval and then puts the pressure on Flutie. And this is what they wanted to do to Doug. Put him on the ground and then give him a little extracurricular. A knee, step on the hand, whatever you have to do. Try to take him out of his game.
Dave Ritchie talks about Doug Peterson as one of the best defensive tackles in the league. 23 seconds remaining, second and goal from the 9. Flutie over the middle, intended for Mitchell, incomplete. Good defensive play by Washington. He got a hand on the football.
Well, Doug's upset with himself because he did not lead Mitchell to the sideline. If he had, this ball was just thrown a little bit behind Mitchell, which allowed Mark Washington to get back and get involved. Had the ball taken him to the sideline, he has to gear down just a touch. The ball thrown to the back shoulder allowed Washington to get back and make the play. If it takes Mitchell to the sideline, Washington doesn't make the play. It's a touchdown.
Flutie, in talking about Mitchell, said he's the most explosive receiver that he has ever played with. And this year, Mitchell with 17 touchdowns to earn Rookie of the Year honors in the East. Vanderjagt with a field goal of 16 yards with 17 seconds remaining. No problem for the Toronto kicker as they increase their advantage to 11 points.
But if I'm Montreal, I have to consider that again a moral victory, or victory in sense, because they did hold them to 3, because you probably had 3 anyway because of the field position.
And we remind you that beginning tomorrow, we are happy to bring you the Grey Cup Classics on CBC, the classics that you, the fans, voted for. The greatest Grey Cups ever played. On Monday, it's the 62 Classic, the Fog Bowl, followed by the 1976 game, 81, 89, and finally on Friday, last year's game, Toronto versus Edmonton. And might we see a repeat of Toronto and Edmonton in this year's Grey Cup game? Those Grey Cup Classics begin tomorrow following your late local news. Check in your area for the telecast time.
Well, Montreal is choosing to kill the clock here, go in and sort some things out at halftime. They've played a pretty good first half other than turning the football over. That's what's given Dave Ritchie his headache right now. They'll sort that out and try to come back and play a cleaner second half.
That, combined with the failure to capitalize on a couple of opportunities they had themselves as the result of a fumble recovery and a great opening kickoff return by Chris Wright. But it's 20-9, Toronto leading after 30 minutes here at Skydome.
The Argos making good on Montreal mistakes, turnovers killing the Alouettes, and at the half, there's the score. The Argos in front, 20-9 in the East Final. Well, here in Edmonton, the West Final is on deck between the Eskimos and Saskatchewan Roughriders. And Edmonton, Saskatchewan quarterback Reggie Slack is getting all kinds of attention. He went, as one newspaper reported, from persona non grata in Saskatchewan to playoff hero after leading the Riders to their upset win over Calgary last weekend in the semifinal. Slack has salvaged a difficult season with the best game of his career, catching and throwing passes, running for a touchdown here to win it. Edmonton will be waiting for him, you know that. That means the Riders will be counting on running back Mike Saunders to help out, and he's with Steve Armitage.
Mark, if the Eskimos are able to contain Reggie Slack, which the Stampeders couldn't, then the spotlight will definitely shine on the man to my left, Mike Saunders. Mike, are you prepared for a more active game against the Eskimos than you had against Stampeders?
Definitely. You know, we're going to go out and try and execute our game plan as well as we did last week. Last week, the Reggie's number was called a bit more just because of the Stampeder scheme. I was used as a decoy. We seemed to execute it very well. You know, if I'm in the game plan more this week, you know, I hope to be successful.
Head coach Jim Daly said that the Riders would have to be at their very best to beat the Stampeders. Can you be at your very best 2 weeks in a row?
Definitely. This team is in playoff form. You know, they say you hope a team comes together as the playoffs come, and we really have. We've played some of our best football the last week, and this week of practice has been really outstanding, up-tempo. I think everybody's ready to play.
There's no question the key to the Edmonton Eskimos offense will be the quarterbacking of Danny McManus. 22 touchdowns, 4,009 yards over the course of the regular season in only 14 and a half games, and some remarkable fourth-quarter comeback finishes. Danny, you've had a couple of weeks off. Is that a negative or a positive going into the final?
Well, I think it's a positive. I know for myself. There was a couple of bruises that I had to get healed up from the Hamilton game. But it gave us time to come out on that off week and work on some timing routes with the receivers and just get a little bit better than what we've been doing.
The Eskimos have lived and died with the pass over the course of the regular season. Will it be the same in the final?
Well, we're going to try and do a little bit of everything. Against a team like Saskatchewan, you got to stay balanced. If you just do one thing, then they're going to eat you up. So the biggest thing we got to do is to try to stay balanced with our play calls, balanced with our formations, and just let our best athletes play.
Is there any chance the Eskimos will be looking ahead to the Grey Cup in a rematch with Toronto and overlook the Riders?
We don't even know when the Grey Cup is, so there's no shot we're going to overlook these guys. We're going to concentrate on Saskatchewan. That's our focus. And Coach Lancaster's done a great job this week of bearing down on us and having us concentrate on nothing but Saskatchewan.
Good luck, Danny.
Thank you very much.
It'll be Danny McManus and company against Reggie Slack and Mike Saunders. It should be a good one. Mark?
All right, Steve. Danny Barrett. Danny McManus is always so low-key. You never know if he's ready to play a football game, but you always know that he is.
Well, that's true. He has a calm demeanor about himself, and he's always on an even keel. So the thing about D-Mac is that when the game is on the line, he's going to put his best foot forward, and I know he's looking forward to playing today.
What do you make about his fourth-quarter heroics? He did it against you guys in overtime, too, this year.
Well, that's true. It's something about him. He knows what's going on during the course of the game. He's a veteran. He's been in these situations before. And I think what happens is the guys just remain confident, knowing that as long as he's on the football field, they have a chance to win the game.
Quick comment on the East Final and the turnovers that have really hurt Montreal.
Well, that's true. I think they need to protect the football. Anytime you play in Toronto, you have enough problems within itself. And when you turn the football over, you just add more problems. So they need to protect the football, and they need to stay out of second and long situations.
All right, Danny, the Alouettes, though, are still in it in the East, although they gave up 10 points on turnovers to the Argonauts, who have a 20-9 lead. And there's Chris Wright, who was guilty of one of those infractions of putting the ball on the field.
Welcome back to Skydome in Toronto, where the Argos lead by 11 at the half. The Argos scored the first touchdown of this football game, but Dave, it looked as though there may have been a bit of a momentum shift when Nigel Williams was able to cap off a Montreal drive.
Yeah, they capped off their drive with a super throw from Tracy Ham to Nigel Williams, and it was the timing of Ham, his veteran expertise to put it on his receiver and get them in the end zone. Ham reads coverage right away, plants and lets it go. Lester Smith and Donald Smith can't react. Nigel Williams in for the touch.
You talk about momentum shifts. After that, not a single first down for Montreal, and they made two very costly turnovers, the first by Chris Wright.
Well, coaches will tell you, players per man will tell you, you can't turn the football over in big games. The Wright fumble led to the Robert Drummond 1-yard plunge. Then another big hit, Don. The monster hit from Brendan Rodgers on the Mill Coleman return, which
two things happened. The ball was turned over, and Milt Coleman left the game with an injury, and he's a featured part of their offense. But a monster hit by Brendan Rodgers, who's been all over the place today.
That's what guys like Brendan Rodgers live for. They play on special teams, and they relish that opportunity to get an open field hit.
Well, you know, his family at home is watching, and they're loving it. And he said hi to his mom earlier after that monster hit. I'm sure Brendan's got a little more for us in the second half.
That'll be interesting to see what strategy the Montreal Alouettes employ when they come back for the second half here at Skydome, trailing by 11. What isn't shown in our Canadian Tire halftime statistics is that after taking a 9-7 lead, Montreal did not have a single first down in the final 11 minutes and 58 seconds of the first half. So, Dave Archer, what does Tracy Ham have to do to get that Montreal offense untracked in the second half?
Well, he knows that the front seven of Toronto is geared to stop Mike Pringle, and I believe he needs to use Pringle now at this point as a decoy. Pringle really hasn't done much for him running the football, play fake, get the football to Chris Armstrong, who only has 1 reception, and Jacques Climie, who has 2 receptions. Get those guys involved.
Well, Ham will have to wait because Toronto, winning the coin toss, deferred their choice to the second half, and they will start the second half with the football. It will likely go into the hands of Mike Pinball Clemens. He's going to let it bounce and go out of bounds, so Montreal will be forced to re-kick.
Well, what happens in that situation is the kicker is trying to pin the ball so close to the sideline to take away any return avenue that Pinball Clemens has, that he gets it too fine and kicks it out of bounds, and now his guys have to run 70 yards again.
Let's reflect on what you thought might take place this afternoon using Pringle.
And I don't think they have. I don't think they've used Pringle to his utmost. The defense, they have come up and they are hitting. They're doing a good job of that. But Flutie came out flying after a couple of drives. He got things really rolling. And the Montreal defense really hasn't shown their blitzing tendencies that they normally come to, but they have limited Montreal's opportunities simply because of the turnovers. Really, you can't make first downs or gain yards on offense if you don't have the football.
So now Baker goes back to the 30-yard line. I wonder how much Mike Pringle is suffering from the foot injury late in the semifinal against the BC Lions last week. Dave Ritchie said he wasn't 100%. Pringle brings it back to the 36-yard line, a 22-yard return. People were also asking about how Doug Flutie would perform against the rushing of Alfred Payton. Don Matthews said Doug Flutie controls Alfred Payton. He can get rid of the ball so quickly, and he has that ability to escape from a rush.
And he did that in the first half, Don. That's exactly what he did. He felt like they were a little stagnant offensively. Flutie began running around, creating some different throwing lanes, making him a viable rushing option, and that put a burden on the defense. Flutie made some things happen.
Flutie operates from the shotgun, inside handoff to Drummond, who hops to the outside. Loses the football, and Montreal has got it. Europe made the contact, and Reed came up with the ball the second time that Robert Drummond has fumbled this afternoon.
You know, Don, you talked about the inactivity of Don Matthews' team for a week. Not taking licks is part of that inactivity, and 2 big hits now on Robert Drummond in this game, and just over 2 quarters of football resulted in fumbles. Tom Europe, good blocking at the point of attack by Kislak and his mates. But Europe comes up with a nice solid tackle, and Stephen Reed there to make the recovery.
The Argos had 5 days off following their final regular season game prior to getting ready for this Eastern final. They did not go on the field on Friday. They had a day off. Pringle pursued and caught from behind by Reggie Gibbons. What a game he has had from his linebacking position.
Well, the only way to prevent Reggie Gibbons from making that play now is you're going to have to bring one of your wide receivers in from the wide side slot and take away the pursuit angle from Reggie Gibbons. He's just following Uzo Okeke, number 53, the pulling tackle. And with his speed, we saw him run down Ham already in this game. He runs Pringle down from behind.
Second and 12 for Montreal. Flushed out of the pocket, now goes to Climie on the sidelines, but Bonner is on him, preventing him from getting the first down. He's about 5 yards shy. There's also a penalty flag over on the far side of the field.
Illegal contact on an eligible receiver. Toronto number 19, first down.
So with the penalty call against Donald Smith, that will be a first down for Montreal.
Well, both receivers to the far side of the field away from the throw are getting mugged. Donald Smith is the one that gets called for it as the ball's in the air. Good play by the defense to rally up and make the play on Kleiman to keep him short, but this should give him a first down, I believe.
Psychologically, how important is it here for Montreal to come away with at least 3?
Oh, I think this is huge, Don. This is a big series, and it is second down and 1. So this is a big situation here for them to come up with a first down. I think you've alluded to maybe the point in the game right now that's huge for Montreal. Must come away with some positive points here.
Second and 1, and Michael Souls with his first carry of the day, getting a first down, taking it to the 35-yard line. Souls had a big game, returning to the scene of his collegiate triumphs. Molson Stadium in Montreal for the semifinal game. A couple of touchdowns. He rushed for over 60 yards.
Well, Mike Sutherland, the big center, just mauls Rob Waldrop and gives Souls a lane. I don't think Souls is being used, Don. I think he needs to catch the football. He is a good receiver. Had 8 receptions for touchdowns last year, none this season. He's a guy that has to factor in the second half.
First and 10 from the 35. Ham over the middle. Armstrong makes the catch inside the 10. Boy, he went up and fought for that ball among 3 defenders.
Well, it's the short side seam route to Armstrong, and because it's the short side, Donald Smith, the corner, has the ability to fall off his coverage responsibility. You'll see 19 come in and try to make the hit at the last moment. Good concentration in traffic there by Chris Armstrong, but a good solid throw. Look at the accuracy here from Ham, right on the money.
First and goal, Montreal from the 8. They trail by 11. Ham running the option. And he's down to about the 2. Benson and Wilshire came over to make the tackle. It will be second and goal from just outside the 2-yard line. The winningest coach of all time in the Canadian Football League, Don Matthews, looking to make his 4th consecutive trip to the Grey Cup game.
That's unbelievable.
It really is.
I think when he comes into the regular season or just gets ready to start camp, he reserves a room in the Grey Cup City.
This is the 15th time in his coaching career that he's been in a final, either East or West. Here's Pringle, touchdown.
Well, Don, this was just a matter of Will's going to get you in the end zone, because for Mike, this wasn't a real well-blocked play. But because he's able to get on the edge in his strength, he powers into the end zone for the touchdown. And you talked about it. This was a huge series of downs. They had to get in. Michael Souls makes a block, but look he just runs through the tackle of Lester Smith, the all-East free safety.
Well, in the first half, the Argonauts converted turnovers by Montreal into points. And to start the second half, Montreal takes advantage of a Robert Drummond fumble. And now the point after by Terry Baker to make it a 4-point football game. Hardly the blowout that many people anticipated in predicting the outcome of this Eastern Final. The Argos coming in as 17-point favorites. But right now, they're clinging to a 4-point advantage. Montreal will kick off when we come back. Mike Pringle became a star in the Canadian Football League under Don Matthews in Baltimore. And Matthews has seen this type of performance before from number 27 as he runs it into the end zone.
Well, Mike Pringle's going to get 2 blocks. I incorrectly analyzed this play. Gets a good block from Michael Souls, and then Chris Wright, right there, seals off the outside defender to get him in.
Pinball takes the kickoff back at the 7-yard line. On the sidelines, he runs out of room as he's met head-on by Nigel Williams. That's an 18-yard return. And when we talk about Pringle, a lot of people may not remember that he was in Sacramento, a teammate of yours, and went to Baltimore as a throw-in in a trade when Sacramento decided to keep Troy Newton.
Which is amazing. And Don Matthews talked about how they wanted one of our receivers, and Kay Stevenson, the coach for us at that time, didn't feel like Pringle was going to make our team. And Don says, sure, we'll take him. He came there and fought his way onto the team and then beat out another guy, and boy, the rest is history. One of the great personnel decisions of all time by our guys.
First and 10 from the 25-yard line. Robert Drummond, who has scored 2 touchdowns, but has also fumbled twice, stopped by Doug Peterson. I don't think there's any doubt that the touchdown after the fumble recovery has inspired this Montreal team.
Well, and I think Doug Flutie's going to get away from running the football, because Alfred Payton, who's blocked there by Willie Williams, his group is stepping up and stopping the run, and Doug's not going to be patient that long with the run game. He's going to get the ball back in his hands to make some plays. Don
Matthews said he wouldn't trade Willie Williams for any other left tackle in the league. I don't think Dave Smith would trade Dave Ritchie, I should say, would trade Alfred Payton for any other rush end in the league.
No, I would agree with you there, Don. Those two guys are guys that you have to have. You have to have a cornerstone, as Flutie had to burn the timeout here to keep from taking a time delay. But yeah, those two guys, Don Matthews talked about Willie Williams, and he protects Doug Flutie's backside. That's the side that's most vulnerable to a right-handed quarterback, and a lot of times you got Alfred Payton breathing down your back from that side, so it's good to have a matchup like that in your favor.
The Argo offensive line gave up the fewest sacks in the league this year, just 19. And in talking about Willie Williams yesterday with Don Matthews, he was saying that Williams didn't have a sack charged against him all year.
Well, when you lead the league in sacks given up, which means they did not give up a lot of sacks, that means Flutie's able to make more plays, no question.
It almost appeared as though Mitchell wasn't sure where he was supposed to line up in this play, and now Flutie's in trouble. But there's the escapability that we talked about earlier, but McSeed has got him. Back at the 5-yard line. One of the key things about linebackers in the CFL, you have to be able to run. We've seen it from Reggie Gibbons. We just saw it from McSeed.
You're exactly right. He's the mirror image of Reggie Gibbons. Doug can make a lot of people miss. He made Swift Birch miss. He even made Alfred Payton miss. But Larry McSeed's ability to run and get to the quarterback makes him a top-flight player on his team. He shuts down Doug Flutie. Good coverage downfield, too. Doug doesn't have anything right away. He has to hold the ball. Now, he makes Payton miss. He makes Swift Birch miss. But McSeed's ability to close. If he hadn't gotten hurt this year, I believe he would have been a Rookie of the Year candidate.
So now with 9:40 remaining in the third quarter, Montreal is going to get the ball back in great field position. But what a kick by Vanderjagt over the head of Wright. And now Wright, hoping to entice some of those Argo special team people into the 5-yard area, picks it up, and on the sidelines, look at this. He needs one block. He's going to take his time. Touchdown. A 70-yard run back for a major score.
Chris Wright sets up this return, Don, by a little move to the left, which sets up the picket for him to get back against the wall. But so often when a receiver, a punt returner, lets the ball sit on the ground, now all the coverage people get bunched up. No longer are they in their lanes, and all you have to do is split that first layer, and there's nobody back. And that's exactly what Chris Armstrong did, or Chris Wright did. I keep calling him Chris Armstrong. He's going to kill me.
Well, it looked as though he was trying to entice Argo defenders into that 5-yard area for a no-yards penalty, and suddenly away he goes for 70 yards after a great kick by Vanderjagt of 63 yards. And now the Alouettes have the lead, 23-20, with 9:09 remaining in the third quarter. And the biggest hit that Wright has taken this afternoon was from offensive tackle Neil Ford in the celebration after the touchdown. Brian Chu is the injured Montreal player on the point after.
Well, you talked about how we had a chance to speak with Chris Wright at home, or you're talking about at home, on the field before the game. Now, watch this little move by Chris Wright. He felt like he needed to make some plays for his team. Watch the little move to the left. That sets up the wall. All he had to do was make one person miss, and look at the wall. There's nobody there. Great execution by Chris Wright to realize where the return was. Gets the block from Washington and Nash, and he's in. Just the little move to the right, or to his left, set up the return. Make one man miss, and he finds the wall.
But it's so rare that when the ball is on the ground, that a punt returner will be able to pick it up and take it all the way for a major score. Most touchdowns on punt returns are scored when the receiver takes the ball in full flight. But Wright puts Montreal ahead with 9:09 left in the third quarter. Well, this is a hurting Montreal Alouette football team. They lost Tracy Gravely last week, Mill Coleman earlier in this football game, and now Brian Chu is helped off the field. But this 73-yard or 70-yard punt return by Chris Wright is worth another look.
It really was. And what I was trying to talk about before was that we had a chance to talk with him before the game, as you alluded to earlier, and he said, I have to make some plays today. Well, he fumbled earlier in the game. Now he's made the big one in the game.
Dave Ritchie enjoys it. So does Swift Birch and Alfred Payton. This is the third consecutive week where Wright has made big plays on special teams. And a guy who can make big plays on special teams for Toronto is number 31, Mike Pinball Clemens. He takes it back to the 30-yard line. A return of 19.
Nobody there.
3 points, Alouettes over Toronto.
You'll never get left out in the cold with MotoMaster, Canada's #1 selling brand of batteries. Available only at Canadian Tire, Canada's auto parts store, made better.
All week, everyone talked about special teams and how important they could be. Toronto was definitely concerned about this man, Chris Wright. He has burned them for a touchdown. And well, now Doug Flutie faces a 3-point deficit.
Now the other number 2 gets his shot.
Wide open is Mitchell. He makes the catch. He had to concentrate on keeping his feet in bounds for that 23-yard reception.
Well, that's an incredible throw by Doug Flutie with pressure in his face, and Mitchell, nice concentration on the sidelines. As this ball floats him to the sideline, let's see if he works his feet. Got to work his feet. Oh, yeah.
He got them both down inbounds. He only needed one. A 23-yard first down. Doug Flutie now steps back, throws deep for the pinball. He's got it down at the 32. He made the catch in front of Tom Hero. Chris Wright struck quickly. As you said, the other number 2 can strike just as quickly.
And he's done what he normally does whenever his offense gets stagnant. He's gone to a no-huddle offense, Don. He gets people deployed. It takes away any substitutions that Montreal might like to make. Keeps the pressure on the defense.
24-yard gain for pinball. 6 catches now for 72 yards for Michael Clemens. Flutie again. Going this time to Drummond for a gain of about 7.
Well, Doug, when he gets in this mode, his rhythm really starts to get going, and he gets the tempo of the game changed, speeds everything up. Gene Gaines trying to sort things out from a defensive standpoint for Montreal. But this is a big play right here in the game. They're all big when you come to the Eastern Final. This might be the biggest of the game so far.
2nd and 3, Toronto. The ball is at the 26 of Montreal. Toronto trailing by 3 points. Flutie moves Drummond. Fakes inside to Drummond. Has to throw to the sidelines, and he was throwing that one away. He had McSeed in his face, and he had to almost underhand sidearm that ball.
It was phenomenal. He got it out of there, Don. You're right. Great play by McSeed. Little play fake to Drummond inside, and then he wanted a boot off of it, but McSeed stays home. Play fake. Now 31's responsible for bootleg. He does his job. That's execution on defense.
Now Now Mike Vanderjagt comes into the ball game to attempt a 33-yard field goal that would tie this game at 23. Chris Wright is the lone man back. And the kick is good. What a football game we've got going in this Eastern Final before a huge crowd at Sky Dome. 6:50 remaining in the third quarter.
Well, Doug Flutie's frustrated he didn't get a touchdown, but it's the little things that win football games for you. Field position is one of those little things, and Doug Flutie does it here. He doesn't take a sack, and it's just his athletic ability and be able to, he's a contortionist. He throws the ball off his back foot sidearm out of bounds to conserve field position.
Toronto with the squib kick again, and Armstrong had some problems picking it up. He goes to the outside and then is forced out of bounds by Dennis Montana. A 13-yard return by Chris Armstrong. 23-23 football game during the regular season. The first time they met, July 31st, Toronto won 46-8. Drummond had 4 first-half touchdowns. On October 11th, 28-21 for Toronto, and then on October 26th, 43-38 for Montreal.
And the first game, I believe, is a little misleading. Ham left the game very early with a concussion in that ball game.
Tracy Ham directing the attack from the 33. He gives the ball to Pringle. He's caught from behind by Givens and Benson.
Well, it's up to Tracy Ham to control Reggie Givens. Reggie Givens is coming off the wide side and running the play down from behind.
And your X's and O's look pretty good.
Yeah. Givens is such a great athlete. You have to control him with your athletes, and Ham is one of those athletes. He's going to have to boot off of that run.
To run, and Reggie Givens got a piece of him, and it's going to be close to a first down. The spot will be very critical. It looks as though it could be about half a yard short.
Well, Mike O'Shea draws back in the zone, tries to take Michael Souls, the receiver, away, and then Tracy Ham goes north and south. The impressive thing about that was when he decided to go north and south, as he's come up about a football length short of the first down, was that he had to go about 3 yards to get the first down. He almost got there.
Now, is there any question about the decision that Dave Ritchie will make here?
You got the biggest and best offensive line Dave Ritchie feels in the league. You have the best running back in the league. You run the football here and get the first down. You don't punt it.
5:42 remaining in the third quarter and a 23-23 tie in this Eastern Final. Third down gamble for Montreal. Tracy Ham will keep. He'll get the first down.
And they decided to go with the second best running back on the team in Tracy Ham, which was a wise decision in that situation. No reason to turn, hand the football to a guy that's 5 yards deep in the backfield, just fall forward and pick up the half yard that was needed for the first down.
Well, he went behind Mike Sutherland, Bruce Beaton, and Mark Dixon.
And Michael Souls gets his head in there, too, who he's done such a great job this season. Overlooked a lot of times. He does a lot of the on-the-edge blocking for Mike Pringle.
First and 10 Montreal. They're at their own 44-yard line. 4:57 remaining in the third quarter. Souls with only his second carry of the game, and he will be limited to about a gain of 2 yards. This year, Michael Souls has carried the ball the second fewest times in his career, and that goes all the way back to his rookie season in Edmonton, where he only carried 34 times. He's carried 33 times this year.
Yeah, he really hasn't been used, Don. I don't think he's been used at all to his abilities. They're keeping him in the backfield and splitting Pringle out. I believe it should be opposite. Get him out as a pass receiver, let Pringle carry the draw.
3 receivers wide to the right on the second down play. Ham with protection. Armstrong makes the catch, but Bonner wraps him up short of the first down. And this time, I don't think there's any doubt as to the decision to be made by Dave Ritchie. He's looking at 3rd and 2, maybe 2.5. I think he's going to be kicking it away.
He's leaving his offense on the field here, Don. So you talk about believing in a group of people. Dave Ritchie believes in this offensive group.
Well, he's taking a look at the yardsticks directly in front of his bench.
Now, this might be a situation where you do turn and hand the ball to Pringle.
I thought for sure he'd kick it away here. This is a big 3rd down gamble. Ham will keep. He's got it. Ham rolled right to the midfield stripe. Well, we're both 0 for 1. I thought that he'd kick. He thought he'd give it to Pringle.
Well, what he did was he did the best thing, and that was put his 2 best runners up the bat, Ham and Pringle. It was an option play. Ham had the ability to pitch it. Had they taken him away, they didn't. They took Pringle away. He turned up, and I think he has the first down, Don.
Well, I thought he got to the midfield stripe and would have it by about half a yard, but they are going to measure. And it is about a half a yard for a first down.
Boy, I tell you what, you got eyes like a hawk.
Every once in a while, I get lucky.
Mike Sutherland, the offensive center here. That's a tough block because he has to ride Waldrop all the way down the line. Waldrop trying to flow to make the play on the option. Sutherland got the head in front and walled him off. Good job, Mike Sutherland.
1st and 10, Montreal. 3 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. The fake to Pringle. Tracy Ham with time, throwing deep, looking for Climby. Well over his head. Climby was being bumped by Lester Smith, free safety.
I'll tell you what, they got what they wanted out of the play fake to Pringle because the 7 interior defenders stepped to stop the run. And Tracy did not recognize the fact that Chris Armstrong had broken clean on the short side of the field. He decided to go to Climby, who was covered pretty well by free safety Lester Smith. So Tracy missed one this time.
Well, it was expected that Lester Smith could play a key role defensively today for Toronto from the free safety position. 2nd and 10 from midfield. Ham flushed out of the pocket. He decides to take off, cuts back inside. He's got a first down and stumbles inside the 40.
You talk about Tracy Ham not running with the football in the first half, Don, and it looks like to me Tracy Ham is doing the same thing Doug Flutie's done. He's taking the game on his shoulders. He realizes he's got nothing down the field. Good blocking by Dixon on Waldrop, but it creates a seam for Ham, and now he cuts back, and this is all Tracy Ham. He gets the first down.
Talking to Dave Ritchie, I asked if he'd like to see Tracy Ham run more today, and he nodded his head and said, Well, he ran for 18 there, and now it's Mike Pringle, the ball carrier, and Pringle puts his head down and drives down to about the 27th. The defensive and offensive coordinators of the Toronto Argonauts have some concerns right now. Bill Bradley on the left, John Jenkins in the middle of the picture.
A good blocking on the edge this time. Uzo Okeke does his job at left tackle, and now Pringle gets on the edge. You see Pringle's speed. He outruns Kelly Wiltshire there to the corner. Adrian Smith has to come up and chop his legs. And first down, Montreal.
From the 26 of Toronto. Tracy Ham for Armstrong. He overthrown. Bonner was defending against the Montreal receiver. It will be 2nd and 10 Montreal with 1:22 remaining in the 3rd quarter.
Well, he put up his top receiver up the bat, his yardage receiver. And a nice move right there to get back to the outside against Antonius Bonner by Chris Armstrong. But Tracy just a little too long with the throw. He had his receiver open. Just couldn't get it on him. But I'm starting to see some breakdowns now a little bit in the Toronto defense. Maybe a little bit they're winded. They've been on the field a lot here in the second half.
And for most of the season, that was never the case in many of the games they played. Swings it out to Michael Soles. Michael Soles takes on some defenders, but is stopped short. Johnny Harris was one of those who came up to put a pretty good lick on Michael Soles. just when it looked as though the Montreal fullback was going to try and punish some of those defensive backs.
Well, this is the decision Ham has to make. The zone is off. He has to drop the ball underneath the Souls. Now, Souls does the right thing, north and south. Nice play by Donald Smith. The big hit came, obviously, from Johnny Harris, but it was the hit by Smith to chop his legs.
Dave Ritchie was looking for a measurement here, but he isn't going to get one. In this third quarter, Montreal has had the football for 10 minutes. Another third down gamble. What play will Ham call here? He's going to roll out to his left. He's throwing. Touchdown, Jock Climby. What a third down gamble.
What a call. What a call, Don. You got it exactly right. Who do you think's going to get the football there? Mike Pringle. And then the throw, the super throw, and how about Climby in traffic? Wow, there's three guys. Good play fake by Pringle to fake the play. Ham to boot, good throw, and then a super catch by Jacques Climby. Now Climby has to bluff like it's run, and then he gets behind Harris. Now Harris is right in his face. That's an all-East halfback. He just beat for the touchdown.
Point after by Terry Baker, the final play of the third quarter. On third down gambles on this try. 3 for 3. Montreal, the touchdown by Climby. In his first 6 seasons in the Canadian Football League in Toronto and Ottawa, Jock Climby had the dubious distinction of never having played on a team that won a football game outside the province of Ontario.
Wow. Well, he's made a lot of plays, this Montreal team, over the last couple of seasons, and none bigger than this one. Over the leaping Johnny Harris for the touchdown. Look at everybody crashing to make the play on Pringle in short yardage, but Ham throws the ball off his back foot accurately enough for Climby to make the play.
And Climby may have the opportunity to play the most important football game of his career a week today at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. The Alouettes lead 30-23 as we start the fourth quarter here at Skydome. Pinball starts out from the 6-yard line. He runs into traffic in the vicinity of the 35. That's where Toronto will scrimmage first and 10 after the 28-yard run back. And you have to wonder if Dave Ritchie is thinking, could this be 1994 all over again when he took his third-place BC Lions to an upset of Edmonton in the semifinal in the West, and then a victory over Calgary, a last-play triumph in the final. Statistically, his team, with a strong third quarter, now has the lead by a converted touchdown. Doug Flutie steps up, throws, and Masadi catches it at the midfield stripe.
Now, this is just a bunch of guys making plays, guys that are used to making plays. Doug Flutie has his leg cut out from under him by Doug Peterson as he throws the ball. Masadi makes a nice adjustment and makes the catch.
Gain of 21. Masadi hasn't been involved very much this afternoon. They have to get him more involved, I would think, to have some success in this drive. They go to Dwayne Demetrition. He makes the big catch and continues on. He powers his way down to the 22. Caught there by Harold Nash.
Well, there's something about playing against Montreal Dwayne Demetrition loves, because he averages over 20 yards of reception against this team. He makes another big grab.
33 yards. He has now caught 3 for 83 yards. Flutie can strike so quickly. Here he is, operating out of the shotgun. Demetrition again. He can't hang on. And he takes a hit as he tried to turn upfield from Irv Smith. It will be second and 10. 30-23, Montreal leads. 13:29 remaining in the ball game.
Well, execution comes at a premium at this point, Don, and this is a ball he has to catch. Just made the big catch and run. It's a ball Flutie puts on him to extend the drive, to give him a good situation on second down. He doesn't do it. Now Doug is faced with a 2nd and 10.
Argos are successful in converting this second down play, it will be the first time they've done it in this half. Mitchell makes the catch. It's going to be close to a first down.
This play is made by Mike Kiselak, the center. Daryl Mitchell's going to catch the football. It's a low throw. Flutie throws it off his back foot. But his center, Mike Kiselak, picks up the blitzing Tom Europe. If Europe's not picked up by the center, he hits Doug Flutie right in the face. But instead, his center hits him in the face and gives Flutie the time to get rid of the ball.
Less than a yard away from a Toronto first down.
Watch Mike Kiselak, 63, fan out right there and take Tom Europe coming on the blitz. Big play, Mike Kiselak. That's why he was the most outstanding offensive lineman in the league last year, and that's why he's the nominee in the East again this year.
Third down gamble for the Argos. Flutie will keep. He'll follow Mike Kiselak, the center, and pick up the first down. In the ball game, Flutie has put the ball in the air 30 times. He's completed 19 for 301 yards.
Well, Kiselak gets a good pop on Doug Peterson right at the point, and all they needed was about a half a yard. And Flutie falls behind his big center for what looks like a first down. You know, you talked about Doug over 300 yards now in the game. Coming into this postseason, he was averaging only 264 yards in the air in the postseason as opposed to 304 during the regular season.
Yeah, during the regular season this year, Flutie had 7 games where he passed for better than 300 yards and 3 games with 400-plus passing yards. Flutie operating from the shotgun. First down, Toronto. Ball is at the 12. Flutie flushed out, McSeed's after him. Flutie throws. Andre Kerwan down at the 2-yard line makes the catch.
Well, these Toronto receivers are coming up with some monster catches for Flutie because this is a ball that's a tough catch for Andre Kerwan. Flutie, acting like he's going to run, pulls it up and sees Kerwin coming back to help him, and Kerwin makes a tough catch with Douglas Kraft draped it all over him. This ball's sinking. What a great catch.
And how tough is that for a quarterback running left to throw when you're a right-handed quarterback?
That's just the most difficult throw you can possibly make because he realized that Larry McSeed, who's running down already a couple times this game, was breathing down his neck. Credit Kerwin for coming back and helping his quarterback, too, because I think Doug felt like he was going to have to run there until Kerwin showed.
First and goal for the Argos, a scatter formation. 12-10 remaining. And off to Drummond. Drummond, touchdown. Third touchdown of the game for Robert Drummond, and now an opportunity for Mike Vanderjagt to add the point after and create a 30-30 tie. 76-yard drive for the Toronto Argonauts. 11:58, the time remaining here at Skydome. And we'll be back with the Toronto Argonaut kickoff right after this. Robert Drummond's third touchdown has the Argos back on even terms in a game many thought they would run away with. Here's the surge of the O-line that enables Drummond to get into the end zone.
And that's exactly what it is. Just the offensive line coming in, coming off, pushing the defenders back.
Wright takes the ball at the 12-yard line. Decides to go to the outside and runs out of room. Lester Smith forced him out of bounds. That was a 23-yard run back.
Well, Robert Drummond, we felt like he'd have to play a major role. He really hasn't played the role we thought he would. But down on the goal line, No one better to give it to than 6'3", 225-pound Robert Drummond.
Well, this game is tied at 30, and the fans are beginning to file into Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton for the start of the Western Final. There's Reggie Slack, who played so impressively in the semifinal upset of the Calgary Stampeders, and the man the Edmonton Eskimos rely on, Danny McManus. They're getting set. That game will follow this one. Pringle, the ball carrier, Rob Waldrop came across to make the tackle.
Well, they have to keep Mike Pringle involved, and this is a short side run play, but this Toronto defense that was #1 in the league against the run just cuts down the running lanes. Maxey and Waldrop both there to make the play.
The two principals in the Toronto drive that resulted in the tying touchdown, having discussions on the bench, getting ready for their next offensive series. Right now, it's up to the Toronto defense to stop Tracy Ham and the Alouettes. Ham throwing to the sidelines. He's got Williams open, and he's got a first down.
Well, Tracy's decision-making in this game has just been snap quick. I mean, it's been unbelievable how quickly he's getting the football out. Williams is just going to run a little control route, a little 10-yard hook route, and stay outside, try to pull coverage. Nobody respects him, and the ball is on him right now from Tracy Ham to get the first down.
Oh, we've talked about Doug Flutie and the 5 MVP awards he has won. Tracy Ham, some might forget, won the same award back in 1989. Handoff to Pringle. Pringle continues to battle, and he takes some hits as he struggled for additional yardage.
It'd be interesting to find out how many of his 1,700 yards he makes after the initial hit, because he gets hit so many times in this little run, and yet he still picks up 4 or 5 yards for his team.
And he's so vulnerable when his back is turned to the defenders.
The big offensive line, Mark Dixon working on O'Shea. The game's in their hands at this point.
2nd and 5, Montreal. Ham's going deep, looking for climbing, off his fingertips. Bonner was running stride for stride with him down the sideline.
That's a super play by Bonner against Climbing. They're hand fighting all the way down the field. Climbing just going to run the fly pattern to the outside. And Bonner looks up, just keeps hand fighting, and nice tip away at the last minute with the left hand. Look at that. That's superior play from the defensive back.
9:47 remaining in this 30-30 tie in the Eastern Final at Skydome. Larry Baker's 3rd down punt, and it's a beauty. Pinball back to his own 5-yard line. Excellent downfield tackle by Giddings. Toronto will scrimmage 1st and 10 from their 11 when we return. And gets up to the 14-yard line. He ran into Chris Gioscas as he was under pressure and was able to convert a potential big loss into a gain of about 2 yards.
Chris Gioscas working on Alfred Payton. Payton gets the inside move and just can't wrap Doug Flutie up. Looks like Tom Hips is still down on the field. The nose tackle for Montreal is...
This could be a problem for Montreal because Steve Charbonneau was shaken up earlier. .8:55 is the time remaining. We'll be back after this.
You'll never get left out in the cold with Motomaster, Canada's #1 selling brand of batteries. Available only at Canadian Tire, Canada's auto parts store, made better.
Well, this has been quite a year for Jim Daly amid controversy in Saskatchewan, and there was speculation that he might not last the season. And here he has his Saskatchewan Roughriders in the Western Final against a Saskatchewan star for so many years. 19 seasons in the Canadian Football League as a player. Ron Lancaster trying to take his Edmonton Eskimos back to a Grey Cup game for a 2nd consecutive year. And the Western Final, Saskatchewan and Edmonton will immediately follow this tremendously exciting Eastern final here at Skydome. We've got 8:53 remaining in a 30-30 tie, and Toronto's 2nd and 8 at their own 14-yard line. Seven defensive backs in now for Montreal. Flutie flushed out of there, and coming back to make the catch is Mitchell.
Well, Don, this is amazing how many plays the receivers made for him. It's about his 4th or 5th catch that someone's come back and helped him when he's scrambling or made a diving catch for him. Mitchell just working hard against Harold Nash. Man coverage, and he comes back to the football and cuts down the throwing angle for Doug Flutie and the interception angle from Harold Nash.
Well, on those receptions, he's either put the ball low enough that only the receiver can make the catch, or it goes incomplete. It can't be intercepted.
Throwing it only where his people can make the play.
Flutie almost stumbled as he tried to get back and set up. Here's Mitchell. Can't catch up with it. Oh, Mitchell has beaten his man. And Tom Europe breathes a sigh of relief as the Montreal free safety was closest to Mitchell.
Well, this is the brilliance of Doug Flutie. He sees this happening before Mitchell breaks clean. He gets jammed a little bit there by Hunter, but Flutie sees it, and he lets it go early with air, hoping his man can run underneath it just a little too far down the field, and he's kicking himself a little bit for it.
It will be 2nd and 10 Toronto from the 24-yard line. Montreal continuing to function here with 7 defensive backs. They started that pattern at the outset of this football game, and they're continuing. Payton is after Flutie. Flutie gets away. He throws. Mitchell can't hang on.
Well, this is the first time they haven't bailed him out, Don, because Darryl Mitchell comes back to his quarterback, who unbelievably has made Payton miss about 4 or 5 times today. He just cannot get to him, but Mitchell can't come up with a catch. It's one I'm sure he feels like he should have made. He's coming back across the field. He sees his quarterback's in trouble. He says, hey, give it to me. Let me make a play for you. Not this time.
And compared to some of the other catches for Mitchell, that one looked almost routine.
Yeah.
Chris Wright is back at his own 42-yard line for this 3rd down punt by Mike Vanderjagt. Wright makes a couple of people miss, continues to work his way upfield, and gets inside the Toronto 50-yard line. A 39-yard punt, and Wright brings it back, 15. At the start of the 2nd half, Dave Archer talked about some of the adjustments that Tracy Ham would have to make. Obviously, he made those adjustments with 21 third-quarter points.
He really has, Don. He's used Pringle like we thought he needed to. He's used him as a runner, but he's also used him as a decoy. And then he's gotten Armstrong and Climby involved.
From the 48 of Toronto, 1st and 10 for Montreal. The fake to Pringle. Climby makes the catch at the 40-yard line, wrapped up immediately by Antonius Bonner. It will be a gain of 8. 6:48 is the time remaining. You get the feeling that maybe a mistake, a turnover, could determine the outcome of this football game in the final minutes of the 4th quarter.
Well, they've already played such a huge role in the game. You got to feel it's going to turn on a turnover, but here's Climby just running a control route for his quarterback, sits down underneath Antonius Bonner, makes the 8-yard reception. Now a nice 2nd and 2 situation for Ham.
3 receivers go wide left on this 2nd and 2 play from the 40-yard line. Pringle, the ball carrier, and he'll be close to a 1st down. Running yards have come very tough for Mike Pringle this afternoon, in contrast to his 260-yard performance against BC last week. But as Robert Drummond said earlier on our telecast, we're not BC.
Yeah, those were fighting words, too, for both teams. But what Pringle has done is he's done the things that I felt like he needed to do to be successful and be a contributor for his team. Just short of the 1st down, this will be a situation where Ham will probably keep to try to pick up the 1st down for Dave Ritchie's team. But Mike has been involved. We just haven't talked about him ripping off 60-yard runs, but he's been important.
Well, Dave Ritchie gambled 3 times on a touchdown drive. They're 3 for 3 in that department. He wants to go 4 for 4. The crowd is alive on this 3rd down gamble from the 38-yard line. Tracy Hamill keeps should have it. The surge of the offensive line, led by center Mike Sutherland, resulted in Ham picking up the necessary yardage.
You said it, the offensive line coming off. When we've had several short yardage plays in this ball game. They're the key to these situations. Mike Sutherland, Bruce Beaton this time on the left side blow their people off the ball. You see Mike O'Shea's taken for a ride there as Ham just gets right in behind Bruce Beaton.
From the 36-yard line, it's 1st and 10, Montreal, 5:15 remaining. The toss to Pringle. Pringle cuts back and picks up close to 5. And again, it's that positive yardage on 1st down that Dave Ritchie felt his team needed.
Montreal has been the best team this season against Toronto in a 1st down situation. Most teams are only picking up about 2 or 3 yards, but Toronto averages about 5 yards on 1st down, and they keep making that happen. What Pringle does so well is he gets in behind his big offensive line. There's Mark Dixon working on O'Shea, but when he decides to go north and south, there's no doubt he's coming. He's bringing it.
Dave Ritchie said we can't let Toronto dictate blitzes if we're to be successful. Here's Ham rolling left. He's going to throw, and it's incomplete. Harris made a key play coming across to take it away from Jock Climbing.
Well, it's an all-star play by Johnny Harris. Climbing is going to try to collision Johnny Harris, make the collision create separation for him. So he's going to run into number 7 Harris. He's going to bang into him. Now he hopes that this will create separation. Harris has none of it, and then lays out with the right hand and knocks it away. Boy, we've seen so many guys make superior plays from their different positions. Another one by Johnny Harris.
And now Montreal needs this from Terry Baker from 38 yards out to take the lead. The clock running, 4:15 remaining in the football game. Baker's kick, it's wide. Pinball from the end zone. He's going to get out. He brings it to the 16. We talked about the struggles of Terry Baker on his first field goal attempt in the opening quarter. They have continued into the 4th when he had an opportunity to put Montreal ahead.
Coming into this game, he'd only hit on 65% of his kicks. That's 7 of 8 kickers. Had a lot of scoring today. Drummond and a great throw to Williams. And
Mike Saunders to help out him.
Once again, Drummond powers in. And these are all guys these are the playmakers, the Pringles, the Drummonds, the Hams pounding them in, the Chris Wrights getting in the end zone for touchdowns.
And now Flutie, as we return to live action, over the middle to Masadi, up to the 35-yard line. A clutch receiver in key situations, 3:30 remaining.
Well, there's not much doubt about what Montreal's going to do. Their bread and butter is to play man coverage, and Mazzati beats Kraft inside on man coverage. Flutie this time gets good time. He hasn't had a lot of time in the second half because of the pass rush. This time he gets it, and he delivers.
It wasn't until late in the first half that Mazzati made his first catch of the day. He now has 3 receptions for 67 yards. Flutie's in trouble. McSeed couldn't bring him down, but with help from Swift Birch and Stefan Reed, Flutie goes down, a loss of about 7 yards, but the play was made by McSeed, who put the initial pressure on him. 2:56 remains here at Skydome in a 30-30 tie.
No sacks today for sack leader Alfred Payton, but what he does is he does his job. His job is to contain Flutie. Flutie wants to roll right, but Alfred Payton fights across the face of the blocker. Now it allows those guys coming from behind to rally to the football.
2nd and 17 for Toronto. The Argos are at their own 28-yard line. 30-30 is the score. The clock running. We're down to 2:50 remaining.
Get good. Get good.
Here's Flutie throwing deep. Incomplete. And there's a penalty flag. It was intended for Mitchell.
Holding, Toronto 58. Penalties declined, third down.
A holding call against Chris Giaskis.
Well, this is a good play by two players right here. We've seen Mitchell make several plays. This time Nash comes up with a nice tip away on an underthrown ball, but Payton working against Giaskis. Giaskis realizes he's beaten, grabs Payton around the leg, and gets the holding call. Payton probably can't believe he got that call. He's felt like he's been held in every one of the games against Toronto, but they've only been, this is only the third holding call they've been called in 4 games.
2:41 remaining. Third down punt by Mike Vanderjagt. Good kick. Wright has to retreat to his own 30-yard line. There's a late penalty call on an 18-yard return by Wright after a 52-yard kick by Vanderjagt. Overtime beckoning in this Eastern final. The last time there was an overtime game in a CFL playoff encounter, 1984.
Piling on, Toronto 35.
Don, this is a huge penalty right here. Brendan Rodgers gets called for a late hit, and instead of the ball being at the 45 of Montreal, now the ball comes out to midfield. Chris Wright, who's just done an outstanding job returning the ball today, and there's Rodgers with the late hit, legitimate call, but now the ball is on the 47-yard line of Montreal, just 2:30 left.
It could come down to Terry Baker getting an opportunity to redeem himself. Here's the toss to Pringle. Pringle continues fighting, and he was able to turn a loss into a gain of about 1.5 yards.
You're exactly right. That was a 3-yard loss that Mike Pringle turned into a 2-yard gain. It's amazing some of the great backs that you ever see in E-League that you see play. Some of their greatest runs are runs they turn in from a negative into a positive. That was a positive there. Now it's 2nd and 8, a manageable situation for him.
Williams comes wide to the right. Chris Wright lines up wide left. Ham looks to the sidelines for Williams. He makes the catch, close to the first down. It's at the 36.5. They may have to measure. 2:16 the time remaining. No, it is a first down, Montreal.
What sets this throw up is Ham's ability to throw the ball in the seam to Armstrong or Climbing. He's done that in the game. Now Donald Smith has to be concerned about helping to the inside. Williams is open to the outside for the first down.
And on the Toronto bench, there's reason for concern. 2:16 remaining. Montreal with the ball, and Pringle takes it inside the 35. Stopped by Givens. He came up with the football, but the whistle had already gone.
We talked to Don Matthews yesterday, and Don Matthews used to coach Tracy Hand and Mike Pringle, and he said whenever it came down to this time, it became Pringle time when he was coaching in Baltimore. And that's certainly what Dave Ritchie's thinking right now. It's Pringle time. But Ham's going to have to come up with a big completion right here.
2nd and 8. We're into the final 2 minutes of this football game and a 30-30 tie. Ham for Armstrong. He can't pull it in. You were looking deep. Was Nigel Williams open down the seam?
They had Nigel Williams down the seam, and Nigel's got his hands on his hips and walking off the field disgusted. I think Ham made the proper decision. He's looking to extend the drive. Just couldn't get the ball on Armstrong. Boy, Armstrong had a lot of territory out there to run with. Tracy realizes, boy, he had a shot there.
A 42-yard field goal upcoming from Terry Baker. An opportunity for redemption.
Well, he's got to throw everything out the window that he's done to this point. This is the kick of the season.
1:47 remaining. The kick is up. It's wide again. The pinball will bring it out of the end zone. And he stumbles his way up to the 16. 2 opportunities late in this 4th quarter for Terry Baker to win them, or possibly put Montreal ahead. A 27-yard return by the pinball, 1:36 remaining. Brian Chu shaken up earlier, down again as he was over covering on the return by the pinball.
Well, let's see how Marvin Graves does with the hold. You'd like to spin the threads away from the kicker. I don't think Terry would have been happy with where the threads were, but at this point in the game, you got to nail the kick. You got to hit it. If the kickers feel like the thread's pointing in a certain direction, make the ball go that way. I don't think that Marvin got the threads exactly where Tracy is, but we're splitting hairs here now. It comes down to putting the ball through the big yellow things out there, right? And he's missed 2 here down the stretch.
And I can assure you that nobody feels worse in that Montreal bench than Terry Baker. He knows he has had 2 opportunities in this 4th quarter to possibly send Montreal to the Grey Cup. .136 is the time remaining. And now the Montreal defensive unit will be tested because Flutie is capable of moving this team quickly. Here's Flutie on the quarterback draw. Taking it up to the 24-yard line and a late penalty flag, and not much doubt about that one as Flutie was down when the late hit came.
Major foul, piling on. Montreal number 1.
A huge mistake by Tom Europe. Can't afford to do this. Flutie goes to the quarterback draw. They're not defending in the middle of the field. And he's on the ground, and there's no question about it. I mean, there can't be any argument at all. Dave Ewell, the referee, makes the call, and I don't know what Tom's arguing about. He hits Flutie on the ground.
1:32 remaining, 1st and 10 from the 41. Flutie operating out of the shotgun. Dimitrition in motion across the formation. Here comes the pressure, and Flutie is going to run it again and get close to another 1st down as he takes it across the 50.
Well, they realize they have the long-range leg of Mike Vanderjagt standing on the sideline to try to win it with a field goal. They actually came to the free safety blitz here, and Peyton gets double-teamed by Dan Payne and Mike Kislak. Again, Flutie taking it on his shoulders to make something happen. How many times have we seen this, Don?
And Vanderjagt stays loose at the Argo bench, realizing he has an opportunity to do something that Terry Baker could not. Drummond on the gamble, looking for the 1st down on 2nd and short. 1:06 the time remaining. 1st and 10 Toronto. The Argos are at their own 52-yard line.
Well, we talked about Terry Baker only hitting on 65% of his kicks, which was 7th out of 8th in the league. Vanderjagt, on the other hand, has hit on almost 77% of his kicks, which is 2nd best in the league.
Palmasati goes wide to the right. Flutie in the shotgun. Flutie looks over the middle for the pinball. He's got it. He breaks the tackle. One of the most popular athletes in Toronto just enhanced his popularity with that 58-yard touchdown reception as the Argos have the lead with 40 seconds remaining. Clemens with 325 yards in this game, 195 on returns, 130 on receptions. No bigger reception than the one he just took into the end zone for the touchdown. 40 seconds remain, 37-30. Still time, however, for Tracy Ham to do something.
Now, the smallest man on the field, Don, makes the biggest play of the game. He's made plays all year long for this team, over 1,000 yards of receiving, punt returns, and kickoff returns. Montreal still has some time left, but Doug Flutie got the ball in the hands of the people that make the plays for him. Himself, first of all, and then Mike Pinball Clemens.
Well, Flutie started this series with 2 very key runs, and then he went to number 31, Mike Pinball Clemens, for the touchdown that could send the Argos to Edmonton to defend the Grey Cup they won last year. It's a different story over at the Montreal bench. Dave Ritchie had his team in position where a successful kick from Terry Baker might have put them in the lead and possibly won the ball game. They kick it away from Chris Wright. It's picked up by Souls. Souls goes out of bounds up at the 41-yard line, taken out by Brendan Rodgers. 36 seconds remaining.
It's not over yet, baby. Tough ball game. Montreal, great team. It's not over yet. We're still hanging in here.
He's already on his post-game interviews. Oh, Pinball just playing against man coverage, and again, he's working against Charles Gordon, who's one of the top halfbacks in this league. That's why Pinball's an all-CFL performer. And it's good they finally recognize the fact that create something. I don't care what you do, create something. He is an all-CFL performer. Get him on the team.
36 seconds remaining. 1st and 10, Montreal. They are at their own 46-yard line. Here's Tracy Ham looking to the sidelines. Adrian Smith came up to knock it away. Nigel Williams, the intended receiver, it's 2nd and 10.
Well, Tracy's flooding one side of the field with 3 and 4 receivers. I think they need to go a little bit more to a balanced set. Get Ham in the gun, empty the backfield down, get some people up the field vertically for him. Put some stretch on the defenders, make them cover a lot of ground to make a play. Armstrong and Climbing have to come up big here.
29 seconds remaining. The clock doesn't start until the ball is snapped. Tracy Ham flushed out of the pocket. He throws. He's got Chris Wright on the sidelines for a 1st down. Taken out of bounds by Johnny Harris, but Montreal is still alive with 22 seconds remaining. A 17-yard gain. Pinball Clemens said this game isn't over. He was right.
Well, not with Tracy Ham on that side of the ball. Tracy Ham has made too many plays in his career in this league to give up. There's 22 seconds left. He's still got 3 plays left in him.
First catch of the game for Chris Wright. Here's Tracy Ham out of the pocket, caught from behind. Gibbons, who has had an outstanding game defensively, and without question, I would suggest the defensive player of this game.
No question about it. He's run so many plays down from behind. He's run Pringle down several times. This is the 2nd time he's run a scrambling Tracy Ham down from behind. Reggie Gibbons has stepped to the task.
14 seconds remaining. Montreal has called a timeout, but the pursuit of Reggie Gibbons has been a factor all afternoon.
Well, what Tracy Ham has to do now, Don, is he has to get a completion of about 25 yards down the field. He still has time for 2 plays. The clock will stop on the completion if he can get it. Get himself into scoring zone, around the 30-yard line. They're at the 52-yard line right now. About a 25-yard completion gives them an opportunity for a shot at the end zone.
14 seconds. The time remaining. The ball is at the Toronto 52-yard line. Ham having difficulty barking out his signals. He dumps it off to Pringle on the screen pass, and Pringle is down at the 43 with 7 seconds remaining.
Well, this is going to be it right here, Don. This is his last shot. It's 3rd and 6, but that really doesn't mean anything. Just 7 seconds left.
It almost appeared as though Neil Ford had pulled out of his stance prior to the ball being snapped, but there was no flag. And this is the ball game right here. Tracy Ham looking to Throwing into the end zone. Chris Wright is there. It's over. This type of drama, this type of excitement in the Eastern Final, but the Argonauts will be heading to Edmonton to defend the championship they won a year ago. Now here's Caroline Corey.
Thanks, John. Pinball Clemens is with me now. He scored the winning touchdown here this afternoon. Pinball a little too close for comfort.
No doubt about it, but this is what playoff football is all about. So emotional now, can hardly find the words, but this is playoff football, and you know, records mean nothing, nothing else means nothing, and they are a great ball club.
Boy, the first half I thought belonged to you. Third quarter, they racked up 21 points, and the fourth, it seemed like Doug took over right there.
No doubt about it. He's our field general. He can do so many things on the field, and you see in the last drive he took over. He does whatever it takes. He threw the ball, and he ran the ball in that last drive 2 times, 2 critical first downs to get us out of our end and set the touchdown up.
Thanks very much, Pinball. Doug, talk a little bit about being able to utilize yourself, especially in the fourth quarter. When things are going wrong, you just call yourself.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's just a matter of spreading people out, and it's a lot easier from a quarterback position to run. It's just you don't want to do it too often. You don't want to get yourself banged up, but it was a situation where he had to do it, and did a good job up front, got some creases, got some important first downs.
I think you got some pretty good pressure, especially from Larry McSeed and Alfred Payton. McSeed with the sack on you, and that's not an easy thing to do.
He's got some speed. I didn't realize he's got that speed. The offensive line did a great job all day. They've got some outstanding speed and pass rushers, and we just Pinball made the play of the day. Shoot, I was ready to cry when I saw him go.
Thanks very much, Doug Flutie. You're off to the Grey Cup again.
Oh, thank God. Thank you.
All right, back to the booth.
Well, Pinball Clemens enjoying some of the benefits of winning a classic ball game like this, Don. He steps up again. I really feel like he is the most outstanding player on this team. Doug Flutie got the nod, but Pinball came up with a big play.
Well, he established a record during regular season play for all-purpose yards. He had 325 all-purpose yards in this one, but the 58 yards on the final reception were the most important yards of this season and this football game, as the Argos go back to defend the Grey Cup next Sunday with their 37-30 win over Montreal. The winningest coach of all time in the Canadian Football League, with an opportunity for a 3rd consecutive Grey Cup as he holds the James Dixon Trophy high, emblematic of the Eastern Championship. And of course, he'll be taking his Toronto Argonauts to Edmonton. Will there be a rematch of last year's thrilling Grey Cup in Hamilton? The Argonauts have done their part.
No question about it. This classic struggle makes that trophy even more sweeter. If they'd won it big, well, it'd have been nice, but because it was such a struggle, a great Montreal team, they win. Classic game. Classic.
Well, the Toronto Argonauts were so heavily favored coming into this Eastern Final. You have to give Dave Ritchie and his Montreal Alouettes a lot of credit for the tremendous battle they put up this afternoon. And in the fourth quarter, they had some opportunities, but it was that man, Mike Pinball Clemens, who finally made the difference in a 37-30 win. Now let's join Caroline Corey.
Thanks very much, John. And I think those of us who have been watching the Argonauts and the Alouettes battle this season knew that there was some momentum building on the side of the Alouettes. And I'm sure, Robert, you knew that they were going to give you all they had today.
Unbelievable. You know, we expected a war coming into this game today. You know, Montreal had all the momentum in the world. They beat us the final game of the season. In the week before, they blew out BC. So they were coming in flying high. We expected that, you know. As a team, you know, we had a week off. I felt sluggish getting up to a slow start, you know, with the 2 fumbles. That's uncharacteristic of me, you know. But my teammates stayed behind me, and I went on and had a pretty good game.
Talk about the character of this team in the fourth quarter to pull it out.
Unbelievable. I mean, going to the fourth, there was no point at any time during this game that we thought we would lose this game. We always felt that we were going to win. You know, whether it be on offense, on defense, or special team. We believed in one another. That's how it's been all year long. You know, we believe in one another from the weakest man to the strongest man. And that's what we did today.
Thanks very much, Robert Drummond.
Thank you.
Back to the booth.
Well, when people talk about the Toronto Argonauts, they talk about number 2, Doug Flutie, number 31, Mike Pinball Clemens. But at the start of the telecast, you alluded to the defensive play of the Toronto Argonauts, and the play of Reggie Gibbons was a factor in the fourth quarter.
It was monstrous. He made so many plays running people down from behind, and I really feel like he stepped everybody's level up on defense.
Well, the Toronto Argonauts are heading to the Grey Cup in Edmonton next Sunday, 37-30 over Montreal. Now let's head to Edmonton to find out who their partner will be in the Grey Cup dance.